Bet you thought this was a still shot, huh? You know, it was so funny. I swear to God, right before I just went live, I'm looking at my computer screen and I'm saying to myself, wait, whoa. How come I got like my picture in the live where it should be the camera? And then I realized that I was just sitting here waiting for it to load and I was like this. And I was like, I thought I was looking at a still photo. What's going on, everyone? It is Friday night. Yeah, we're home tonight, everybody. January 31st, 2020. Welcome to this edition of the Don-Tony Show. I am Don Tony. I hope everybody enjoyed Smackdown, Groundhog Day. You know, it's funny. It was only 3 months ago, about, that WWE debuted Smackdown on Fox. We had all those sports personalities and hyping up that it's going to have more of a sports feel and blah, 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 blah. And we think the Royal Rumble is the end of the feud between Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin. And what do we get tonight? Groundhog Day. We get Corbin eating dog food. That happened on house shows a month ago. Why is this storyline still going on? And you know, it's funny because I know the stock market and the WWE stock has been in the news the last 24 hours plus, and rightfully so. And I will be getting into that later on. But if you thought tonight's edition of SmackDown was Groundhog Day, and if you basically said, okay, SmackDown is Groundhog Day, and the stock market is our great mayor, I say that sarcastically, Bill de Blasio, then basically I think what you would end up is this. Right? I mean, that's pretty much SmackDown, and de Blasio's the WWE, well, de Blasio's the stock market, WWE SmackDown is the groundhog, and that's basically what happened. Unbelievable. And the freaking guy is laughing. Yeah, that's so funny. I dropped him on his head. What do you think, you Taz? You laugh? You dropped a little rodent on his head? And I don't even like groundhogs. But by the way, Groundhog Day with Bill Murray is one of my favorite movies of all time. So we're going to have a fun show. Going to get into some random things. Last week was the first ever edition of the Don Tony Show, and it went 3 hours. 3 hours, a 3-hour tour. Tonight, I think we'll be around 1. And I don't want anybody to be disappointed because my plan is eventually to do a show on here literally almost every day. Even if they're shorter, but if there's a lot of stuff to talk about, all I got to do is make a little bit of time, make sure everything is hooked up correctly, unlike what happened on Wednesday. For anybody that missed it, if you want to see me assaulting myself, check out Wednesday. Yeah, Garth, I did see that Ring of Honor is bringing back the Pure Championship. I think that's the first time in 13 years. I don't know if that was the announcement that a lot of fans thought it was going to be earlier. I think a lot of fans like, wait, New Japan announcement. Well, we already know that, but look, the Pure Championship, you could have the Pure Championship, the Women's Championship, the Intergender Championship, the 23-hour championship, the 24. It doesn't matter. If the product is Shangada, if the roster is Shangada, if the storyline is Shangada, it doesn't matter what title you bring back. Improve the product, and then fans don't care so much around the title. Case in point, Braun Strowman tonight defeats Nakamura to become the new Intercontinental Championship. Congrats. First singles title for Braun Strowman. Probably overdue. I think a lot of you would agree with that. But I decided to do a little bit of research while, SmackDown was on. And do you know that the last time Nakamura defended that title on television was way back in October when they first moved to Fox? Not only that, do you know how many times since October he had matches? 13. You know how many of them were singles matches? 2. make matters worse, he won the Intercontinental Championship at Extreme Rules, defeating Finn Balor. Guess how many title defenses he had since July of last year? 4. If you notice, I'm trying not to curse tonight. YouTube, unfortunately, can't screen this, but 4. He had a total of 4 title defenses since July. That's a perfect example of a title that has a lot of prestige. And look what WWE has done to it since July. Again, you think they go to Fox, it's going to be more sports-oriented, and look at how they treated that title. Look at what we got tonight. I mean, we got a lot of garbage. This whole thing with Otis, and look, for newer viewers out there or listeners, if you're expecting a match-by-match recap of SmackDown tonight, I don't do that. Others do that. Good for them. I don't mind getting into individual matches, but I just talk about whatever comes to mind. But I saw the progression of the Otis Mandy, storyline, and they're now going to go on a date Valentine's Day. Now, I'm not trying to be a stickler to detail, but did anybody, when she said, look, I'm busy next Friday, but I'm not busy the following Friday, something tells me that a lot of you out there are probably yelling at your TV and saying, you have to work next Friday. You have to work the following Friday. I know what a lot of you are going to say. Well, maybe they could go out after SmackDown. Maybe that's what they were talking about. No. On Valentine's Day night, you're going to see the cameras with Otis and Mandy on a date. And what I said about a couple of months ago, we'll probably have some drunk Flex Cavana out there trying to impress Mandy, and maybe Otis decks him or Mandy does. They'll probably have Mandy do it for the women's empowerment, beating up all the men. Women beat their men. The men beat on their drums. If anybody knows that why I said that, props to you. But, look, the storyline is not bad. The problem is, are they going to use that until WrestleMania? Now, we found out tonight that Miz and Morrison are going to be taking on the New Day in Saudi Arabia. All right? If anybody's been following my show, even before I went to video, the day that they showed Morrison in Miz's locker room, I had come up on one of these shows and I said, okay, this is where I see the tag titles going. New Day, Miz Morrison, and then Miz Morrison feuding with Heavy Machinery at WrestleMania. And maybe Heavy Machinery gets those tag titles at WrestleMania. That was the idea I had about a month and a half ago. I'm sticking to it. I think we very well could have a title change in Saudi Arabia. I would not be surprised at all. In fact, right now, my gut feeling is, yeah, I think Miz and Morrison get those tag titles in Saudi Arabia. And then once Saudi Arabia is over and done with, we have about 4 or 5 weeks leading into WrestleMania. Now, I wasn't going to bring up the controversy that's floating around line about Naomi and the Brian and Vinny show. I talk about goofy podcasters. I am not saying that Brian and Vinny are goofy podcasters. I don't follow their show. I usually talk in a generalistic term. But I found it pretty funny. All of the men that basically were once again trying to get the tweet hand jobs on social media. It's pretty, I hate using this term. I used it the other day, and I can't tell you how many PMs and emails I got in return about this. You see some pretty sad bipolar men on social media that will criticize all the guys going on the Jericho cruise. By the way, I got to give a shout out to Andrea. I don't know how you pronounce it, but if you see in the video background, see that foam hand over there? She got that for me from the Jericho cruise. In return, I sent her a bobblehead. And I want to thank everybody who offered to send me things from the Jericho cruise. I wanted to accept everybody's generosity out there. Problem is that I'm still adding a couple of things to the wall behind me. And I don't want to flood it with some crazy, crazy stuff. And I don't want to float it with too much stuff. And shout out to the 90s guy listening all the way from Australia. Props, my friend. And by the way, I know there are some members in Abu Dhabi listening tonight live. Guam, Mexico. Where were the others tonight? I don't remember. I don't remember who it was. But I know there's a lot of people listening outside of the United States. And seriously, thank you so much for the support. Whether you're tuning in live or on the download, it's been tremendous. I think we're up to 6,300 subscribers, and I'm only on video about 2 weeks. I mean, it's been incredible. And if you like this, just keep spreading the word. And yeah, you're going to see a little bit of a shift in, my style. I'm trying to cut down the strong language a little bit. I'm going to try my hardest to keep it under 5 this episode. And honestly, if I didn't bring it up, I have a feeling a lot of you out there would not have even realized it anyway. Rothman is listening from Ireland right now. Big Bert's is in New Mexico. Midnight Blue, you're in Brooklyn. You're 5-10 minutes away from me. Not impressed. I'm kidding. But let's get back to Saudi Arabia. Let's get back to WrestleMania. Let's get back to Naomi and Bayley. Now, look, Miz and Morrison winning the titles at Saudi Arabia, that gives about a month storyline to build up for another feud at Mania, which I think is going to be heavy machinery. Problem is the women are not going to be wrestling in Saudi Arabia. Maybe we get one match like last time. I don't know if we get that again, because even though it was just one jerk, and I know for a fact that there were a lot of Saudis in the crowd that would have loved to join that jerk and throw bottles at the women, because that's just the mindset of a lot of the older people in Saudi Arabia. I don't mean to be a jerk, but I've had listeners who live in that neck of the woods that just tell me the flat out truth. I mean, you see in wrestling, you see older guys like Sandman and others that just can't accept the fact of women wrestling in a main event. In Saudi Arabia and in Iraq and Iran and some other places, men are on this level and women are still all the way down on this level. And that's just a way of life. You and I, whether you're living in Australia, the UK, Brooklyn, Jersey, you and I have a totally different mindset. And a lot of people that live in that area have the different mindset as well. But for the hardcore of the hardcore, especially religious, you're never going to change their ways. You're going to have to probably wait another generation to really flip over. And that's really the facts. I mean, 20 years from now, even the United States, as far as women's wrestling goes, at the end of the day, it's all about this. It's all about this. You can make statements. You could try to be politically correct. You could try to say things on social media that get you the most love and support back. But at the end of the day, you'll have 10,000 people that'll say, oh my God, I support your show. I'm going to go. I'm going to buy the IPPV. I just love your whole blah, blah, blah. And 9 times out of 10, they're just talking out of their butts. That's just the way it is. But I don't know if we get a women's match again this year. We'll see. But will it be Naomi and Bayley? I don't know. I mean, if you look at their outfits, I mean, they are pretty covered up already. Naomi could just, wear a long outfit with the multicolor. And I think, probably Naomi would be a wonderful, colorful character. And I don't mean skin color. I mean her outfit to be out in Saudi Arabia, because it's more like show than anything, them making a statement, I would say. But my immediate reaction to Naomi coming out and challenging Bayley tonight had nothing to do with the Brian Vinny controversy online. And I'll give you my thoughts on it, because a lot of people were asking my thoughts on it. But this is the scenic route to WrestleMania. People need to remember that we're still about 8 or 9 weeks away. So you're not going to have Bayley take on Naomi at WrestleMania. Everybody thinks it's going to be Bayley and Sasha, and we've been talking about that for about 6 months now. You have to have another feud before then. Just like right now with The Fiend versus Roman Reigns, which is what everybody feels is going to be the Smackdown heavyweight title match that's going to go down. We're still 9 weeks away. So you need to postpone that a little bit. They're not going to start that storyline yet. So unfortunately for everybody out there who loves Naomi, who supports her, who wants to see her reclaim her championship, I would be shocked as hell if she wins that belt prior to Mania. I don't think it's going to happen. And it's not a knock on her. It just feels like what I said about other wrestlers in years past. Probably the match at Mania, they have another month to fill before then. So right now, it's Bayley and Naomi. And that'll eventually lead to something else. So Naomi's basically just filling time for the time being. And it's not just her. It's a lot of other wrestlers too. If we get Kane versus The Fiend in Saudi Arabia, that's buying time because they're not putting all of the main event matches. Look at Charlotte. How many of you out there read all the news reports? And I left on Wednesday about this. And I even asked everybody live because I wanted to make sure that I didn't screw anything up on my end. But I asked everybody, wait, maybe I was in the bathroom doing number one, and maybe I missed it, but did Charlotte show up in NXT? Because I remember seeing all these esteemed journalists saying that Charlotte is gonna be in Orlando and she's gonna be on NXT and she's gonna challenge Rhea Ripley. And I'm not gonna get into the whole storyline idea that I said on Wednesday. I know a lot of you liked it, but don't read this nonsense online. I read today, Christian may get involved in the storyline between Randy Orton and Edge. Is that like, oh my God, your sources are telling you this? What's next? Bet Phoenix. It's just common sense. It's just, you see history of certain wrestlers and you could say, oh my God, Edge has a relationship with Christian. Christian's not doing anything. So I'll report that. Oh, I heard from my sources. Here's the great one. And I'll say this guy's name because I really don't care. Brad Shepard. My God. If I did number 2 right now, and since I'm on keto, if I ate tons and tons of cheese all day long and avocados and drank tablespoons of olive oil and then took X-Lax and then I went in the bathroom and did number 2, or maybe you call it number 3, I guarantee you that still would look a hell of a lot nicer than Brad Shepard. I don't know where this guy came from. I really want to see what Mr. and Mrs. Shepard look like. I got to see what thing let this guy out. I laughed my butt off today. Yeah, I'm trying to purposely. I could say ass, right? I laughed my ass off today with the stock market stuff. Oh, AAA and Triple H and Stephanie had no idea that Vince let go of George Barrios and the other person, and I will pull their names up in a minute. I can't remember her name right now. It's Michelle Wilson and George Barrios. Did you see that crap today? And you got all of these cut and paste fools out there that are writing the same thing. Oh, Vince did it behind their back. They know nothing about the stock market. They know nothing about board of directors. They know zilch. I mean, to write that they were blindsided, they had no idea. This is $1 billion company. You think Vince just woke up and said, "Yeah, fired"? Doesn't work that way. So I read stuff like this and I'm like, these people are just absolutely ridiculously bad. But you know what? Look, should I get into that now, or should we talk about this Brian, Vinny, Naomi stuff? I'll leave it up to everybody live. Everybody's like, curse, 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 curse. You know what? Let's talk about Brian and Vinny show first. A lot of you out there wanted my thoughts on it. Honestly, I was just going to ignore it because, you know, like I said, I don't follow their show. But it was just amazing the amount of testosterone who had to speak out and to try to enhance their overall presence, that they're men. They're true men. I would never call Naomi that. I would never use MS. I would never. And these are the same bipolar people who laughed and made fun of everybody on the Jericho cruise, who laugh at everybody else. And these same hypocrites, 9 times out of 10, have either old pictures of themselves, cartoon pictures of themselves, baby or third grade pictures of themselves, pictures that are 20 years old, or no photos at all online. That's why every time, and I didn't itch, I wasn't picking my nose. Every time I go online and I see people say to me, oh, did you see what was written on Fightful? Did you see what was written on blah, 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 blah website? The first thing I do, even on these Forbes sites and others, because Forbes, I think, even grants a lot of wishes, to people. Hey, you want to write wrestling article? First thing I do, I swear to God, I swear my mother, even the Sports Illustrated stuff. By the way, they did a great interview with Killer Cross. If you listen back to this past Monday show, you never heard out of my mouth that Killer Cross met with Triple H, because I couldn't verify it. I know we talked about, where he could end up and everything, but you never heard those words come out of my mouth. But the first thing I always do with all of these websites is I go to look to see who the author is. If it's a familiar name that I have read in the past, yeah, I'll pay a little more attention to it. If I look at it and I can't see the person, who it is, or you click on the link and there's absolutely no bio whatsoever, 9 times out of 10, I just ignore it. But again, the funny thing about this Naomi thing, and for the people that don't know, Brian and Vinny show, I guess is Brian Alvarez, they took Naomi to task a little bit from the Royal Rumble spot. Just talking about some of the things, but they also said some really nasty stuff her way. Now, if anybody listens back to my Royal Rumble recap, I basically said it was nice to see her back. I thought the whole spot of her, running over that thing to get back in the ring was fine. But it felt like it took a little bit too long, and she got eliminated almost immediately after. So it's like, wow, all that work for nothing. I mean, it's like a bad cartoon where you build something and you stand in front of it like this, and then in behind you, the whole thing comes crumbling down like 2 seconds later. So I was more annoyed. I got to clean my glasses. Look, I'm not totally polished yet over here, but, I do care about presentation, so got to look, But that's all it was. I had no problem. It was nice to see her back, but, they used some choice words. And, some WWE stars came to her defense. Some stars outside of WWE came to her defense. And I'm not saying every single person who has genitalia, male genitalia, that spoke out are all in this boat. I'm not saying that at all. But you have to see, the same guilty subjects all over and over again. I would never. Ha ha ha, AEW fans. Oh, can we all just get along? Ha ha ha. Can we all just get along? It's all about, hey, I'm gonna say I'd never do that, so I can have all these women and stuff. You're such a wonderful person. But meanwhile, you go through their old Twitter. I think some of them don't even understand what advanced Twitter search is. I don't even think a lot of them even understand what follow backs are. But when you see it's not about, they're so upset with Brian and Vinny or anything like that. They just want people to see them like, oh, they would never do that. He's such a great, and it was over and over and over and over and over again. It was pathetic. Now, my whole take on the situation, I thought what they said towards her way was a little bit over the top, in my opinion. But I also say this. A lot of these wrestlers complain when their luggage is late. They complain if they're not served. And I'm not saying everybody's guilty of this, but a lot of people, and almost every single person, no, I'm not on coke. I'm not on coke. I'm a little bit hot. And if you see, I'm not even in wrestling tired tonight. I actually went out. And I came back a little while ago. Dave Anthony. Goody, goody, goody. Goody, goody, goody. I think it's the first time I did that. But no, I came back late today, and I watched SmackDown while I was out. I had it on my phone, but I didn't think SmackDown was that bad of a show. But, man, on the heels of all this negative publicity, I mean, we got Sheamus and Shorty G again. We got the 6 tag with the dog food right on Super Bowl weekend, and it's just like, but I will say this, and I don't want to jump back and forth. What you read about the stock market and the changes, in the executive field, a lot of that has nothing to do with storylines on television, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But, a lot of wrestlers out there, and I always say blue check marks, they complain. When they get inconvenienced, they'll talk about Starbucks. They'll talk about 7-Eleven. They'll talk about an airport. They'll talk about a restaurant. They'll talk about a credit card company. They'll talk about a cell phone company. They'll complain. Not time, but in our lifetime, we all get subpar service. So when you get, with all due respect, the defense by Carmella, like they've never been in the ring, and look at these people who think, but they've never done that. Well, I guarantee you, if you've never cooked or you were a chef in a restaurant and maybe something was overdone, you politely send it back. You say, look, I didn't order this rare. It's rare. Could you cook it a little more? What do 9 times out of, I'm not saying Carmella does this individually, but what do people do? They race to social media to complain about every single thing. And if you're going to turn around and use that defense like, you've never been in the ring, how dare all of these people, these hypocritical people who never did this, and how dare they do this and that, a lot of your fellow peers are just as guilty when they criticize other, outlets out there. It's just the way it is. Somebody's saying that I got an echo going on. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I figured it out. See, how long was that going, by the way? I'm a little curious. I'm a little curious. It's back to normal. I know. So listen, after what happened Wednesday, I swear to God, my mother, I stood up until 4:30 in the morning watching videos to make sure that every little detail that, could go wrong, that I'm prepared for it. So the minute all of you out there just said, hey, I hear a little bit of an echo, I immediately saw, okay, the webcam. You said a few minutes? That sucks. So I may have to edit that out. Oh, about a minute? We'll leave it in. This is new still. I'm not even doing this 3 weeks. We're going to have little incidents here and there. Big Dick Cheney, I don't talk to Kev other than Mondays when we do the show or when I record his Patreon shows. So I have no idea. This, and I have to stress this again, this YouTube channel is mine. It is not a DTKC YouTube channel. DTKC shows will be here for everybody when I am on them, because I'm now a video guy, and any shows that I'm on with video will always be here. If there's Monday here and there that I'm not on, chances are it will be audio only. So I just want to make that clear. 6 months from now, 5 months from now, we'll revisit that. And, I want to make it perfectly clear. I, after doing this 23 years, needed something new and fun to do. I just, needed a change. And that's why I did what I did. It wasn't to spite anybody. It wasn't to hurt anybody. And it's for me. I'm going to get married in less than 2 years. So a lot of the free time that I have doing these shows, I have to maximize, my abilities, creativity, revenue. There's a lot of things. I can't turn around and say, honey, we can't pay the electric bill, but, I got a podcast to do in 5 minutes. So, there's a lot of reasons why. And I shouldn't have to keep explaining myself. But, but so far so good. I mean, like I said, we'll have a little issues here and there. But, it's fine. I see even right now, a lot of people are saying to me, oh, the border is gone. How's that? See, and I'm not doing this purposely. I know there's some other goofs out there that'll say, oh, I did all this on purpose just to test all of you. No, I just because I'm doing this live and I'm looking at the chat room and I'm looking. A lot of people are saying it looks good without graphics. You know what I could do if you all like this? I mean, once in a while, I could do something like this. And now that's probably why you saw the echo before, but maybe we could do, you know what? I'm not going to fuck around with it right now. I'm a little afraid that we'll start having a little bit of problems here and there, but hey, Friday night, there's nothing else going on. We're just having a little bit of down-to-earth fun conversation, but, you know, I'll figure. No, Mr. Wombat, I could maximize the camera, but I don't want to start screwing this up, and I don't want to be up here 3 hours tonight. You know, I actually got a lot of other stuff to do after this, and by the way, Breakfast Soup will return this weekend. And you know what? This is a great segue. Mish, Wrestling Soup, Breakfast Soup, Patron. I know a lot of you know that, you know, he moved from Chicago to Philadelphia, start a new life. You know, that's probably the best way I could describe it in a nutshell. But it was weird because I know he and I are doing an episode of Breakfast Soup this weekend. And we weren't sure if we were going to do it Saturday or Sunday. And I put a poll up on Patreon. And by the way, we'll announce the winners of the predictions contest in a moment. But I posted a poll on Patreon. I'm like, hey, everybody, would you rather, for those tuning in live, I mean, if you're downloading or watching the show later on, it doesn't matter which day we actually do it for the most part. But I said, you guys want us Saturday afternoon or Sunday night? And a lot of, Saturday night or Sunday afternoon because it's the Super Bowl. By the way, I got I'm in the pool and hopefully I win myself some moolah over the weekend. And this is a pretty, you know, intense pool. I have never won. I think one time I won maybe $200 in a Super Bowl pool. I never freaking win. And I know some of you are going to ask me right now, like, what are my numbers? If you look closely, like AD is mine. I have number 2 for the Kansas City Chiefs and number 1 for the 49ers. I don't know if you could see that. Yeah, you could probably see that. The AD is me. So, you know, we'll see. But that's cool because it doesn't show like whose contest this is. But, hey, hopefully I win a little bit. But getting back to Mish. So the voting pretty much leaned towards doing a show Saturday evening because apparently a lot of podcasts are not on Saturday night. And not only that, the fact that Super Bowl is Sunday, a lot of you would rather have a live show on Saturday. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll prepare for Saturday. All is good, you know, no big deal. And suddenly I see that Mish is on his way to Chicago. And I'm like, wait, if he's going to Chicago, what's going to happen with Breakfast Soup this weekend? And then I remembered the freaking Poppy concert. And for all of you out there that know who Poppy is, tell me this isn't cool. That is Mish tonight talking to Poppy, and she is inside the casket because they did a funeral thing with her before she actually, I guess, did her concert. So that is from tonight, Mish with Poppy. And that is freaking awesome. I figured I'd share with everybody. I think you would all get a kick out of that, right? It's not bad. But, you know, what do I think of Mojo Rawley? Will he get a push this year? I don't know, man. It's really, really hard to say. Really, really hard to say. You know, I used to really crap on that guy. Then I started getting a newfound appreciation for him. And then, I don't know. I just, you know, they did the whole thing with the mirror and that shit on his face. And they're trying everything they possibly can. We'll give it a shot. We'll see. But right now, I'm just not feeling there's so many. Look, even though WWE is a big family, just like AEW and a lot of other companies out there, NWA feels like a real big family atmosphere as far as everybody, you know, trying to make the product as successful as possible. At the end of the day, though, everybody's competing for their job. They're competing for time on television. They're trying to maximize, you know, their own abilities. So it's a competition. And unfortunately for Mojo Rawley, there are so many people that he would need to leapfrog to get any type of exposure. I mean, you see this storyline going on with Eric Rowan and the Cage. Not for nothing. Don't everybody feel like that's like running a month too long? I mean, are we going to get the reveal at WrestleMania? Is this going to be like a gobbledygooker segment where it's not an egg going to break, but they're going to just pull? Think about that for a minute. The reveal is literally just pulling a cover off a Cage. We're not going to get some robot from Japan that could ooze blood and look realistic like that. It's not going to be a Furby. It's going to be something. There better be an unbelievable payoff. And then whenever that payoff happens, people are going to think back to when his finger got bitten. It was all his blood. And that goofy indie wrestler that was like, son of a bitch got his ass handed to him and get blood in his face and his hands or whatever happened to that indie guy. He's so angry about it that he doesn't tell the world online, what he saw, I mean, yeah, I'm talking storyline. It's just, there's a lot of caca going on right now. But, WrestleMania, Armando, I don't know if it's a weak card yet. We really don't know much. We know about Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar. We know the rumors out there. Until they actually are confirmed, you have to just sit and wait. I guarantee you at this time last year, a lot of people out there were still, did not think that Kofi Kingston would be wrestling for the heavyweight championship, let alone win it. Kofi's moment was historic. And some storylines end up being magic, and some of them just end up caca. So, yeah, Poppy in the cage. But, if my voice sounds a little bit crackly tonight, not only did I talk a lot this week with the podcast, but I have my regular job, and then, I'm on the phone for hours talking to my significant other. So my voice is a little bit strained. And we'll talk about the stock momentarily. But getting back to the whole thing, with the Naomi situation, a lot of people out there, are inconvenienced at some time during their life. And it's usually a profession that they are not knowledgeable in or they don't have any expertise in. And you can't turn around and just say, oh, because you've never wrestled, you have no right to criticize that. I guess we could use that to segue into what's going on with the stock market. Now, I want to make this perfectly clear, okay? And this is not to put myself over, but I want to give everybody a little bit of a background with me. When I graduated from St. Francis Prep High School, I was going to major to become an accountant. I worked in New York City for Smith Barney. I'm sure some of you out there have heard of that company. And I worked there for a little while. And at that time, we're a few years past Family Ties with Michael J. Fox with, his character being like in business and finance and just wanting to, rock the world and make millions of this, that. And that's what I was coming out of high school. I got a very big dose of reality thrown in my face almost immediately. This is a God honest true story. And if anybody's a longtime listener, my apologies if you've heard this before. But since there is a brand new audience that tunes in to YouTube now and watches my stuff, you're going to hear once in a while a story repeated. But when I graduated high school and I went to St. John's University, I'm not going to talk about what happened with that, but I ended up quitting St. John's University within a month or two. So I got a job in New York City for Smith Barney in accounting. I wanted to be either a stockbroker or an accountant. And I worked for Smith Barney for about a year, and I was kicking ass. And I still remember to this day that my first salary was $17,000 a year. And I was busting my ass. I was taking trains, taking the express bus, showing up in suits every day. And I would show up early. I would leave late. And I was really busting my ass because I wanted to go to the top quicker than anybody else. Just like and I am a very competitive person. If anybody notices, somebody tries to challenge me, I'll go 10 times more balls out on something. When we did the history show a couple of years ago, a lot of people wanted my version of it. and wanted Kev's version of it. And it was just friendly competition. But the minute that I heard Kev's version, I was like, ha ha, watch this. And I just went balls out. And yeah, I burned myself out doing it, which is stupid on me. But, I tried to amp it up a notch so hard that he just gave up with his. And I try to do that with everything I do. I try to maximize and do the best I possibly can. And I really get pissed off when I don't do the job that I set out to do. And I don't even know why, I'm like that. But I'm now out of high school and I'm working for Smith Barney. I was making $17,000 a year. And I will never forget, I was there for about a year. And there was a promotion that was, I forget exactly what the title was, but the promotion would have your salary increased almost $30,000 a year. At that time, was worth a hell of a lot more money than what it is today. So, people are telling me, oh man, you got this locked up. Just keep doing what you're doing. You got it locked up. You got it locked up. So for a month, I have this in the back of my mind of everybody telling me, just keep doing what you got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. So anyway, and, I don't care about race or anything like that, but there was this woman, her name was Isabel, black lady. She was married with 2 kids, a wonderful woman. I used to get along with her, just really talk about everything. She was really a sweet woman. She was probably about 10 years older than me. So anyway, about a month later, they are interviewing everybody for this position within Smith Barney, and it ends up she gets it, and I don't. So, I was disappointed at me not getting it, but I was happy for her because I thought that she definitely deserved it as well. She was excellent. Until I met with my supervisor. He called me in his office, and we were talking about some things that I needed to do. And he said to me, he goes, listen, he says, I'm really sorry that, you didn't get that position. But you have your whole life ahead of you, and there's no rush now, and this, and that. I said, yeah, but, I'm looking to advance. And he's like, but you don't understand. He says, put yourself in my situation. He says, I got a guy like you that is showing up early, that is leaving late, that is putting in 150% of work. He says, why would I want to get rid of somebody like you and put them in another department? So the guy admits to me that he recommended this woman, Isabel, because number one, he didn't want to lose me in his department. And number two, because she was married and because she had kids. I think I'm going to change my glasses because these freaking glasses, they suck. This is more like it. Man, those glasses suck. I keep feeling like I'm doing this and just annoying. I'm not going to break them because they are good glasses. I just probably got to tighten the screws. But he said to me, he's like, look at you. You just came out of high school. You have a wife? No. You have kids? No. You still live with your parents? Yeah. Look at her. She needs this a lot more than you. I quit the next day. I didn't show back to work. I walked out, I quit. And I was like bafangul as far as working in the city and working for Smith Barney. Never ever came back there. That son of a bitch. I was complimented because of my hard work, but don't hold me back, for your benefit. It's not going to happen. So, that's but the reason why I'm telling this story is I worked in that field, albeit for a short period of time, but I was always fascinated with it, and I was always reading it. And look, I owned WWF stock about 19 years ago. I bought it at a little bit under $10 a share. I sold it for about $13 a share. I didn't own a crazy amount of shares, but I thought, it was a big investment, especially when WCW closed its doors. I'm like, okay, billion-dollar company. How could I possibly not, make money here? But then, as the years go by and you have no money in the bank, you're like, all right, do I really need these stocks? Look, I got this gold chain that I wore tonight because I went out to dinner, and it's like, I can't tell you how many times I almost hocked this. And I almost sold this maybe like 5 years ago. They were going to give me like $2,000 for it or something like that. But, with the stock, it's like, what do I have this chain for? What do I need? I need money. So I sold the stock. But anyway, getting back to this whole thing with the stock market, if anybody remembers, and this is very, very important, and I'm going to try my hardest not to bore anybody out there. I'm going to just give you the cliff notes as far as what happened. And then I'm going to explain a few things that you may not even be aware of. All right. And I recommend each and every one of you out there to go online. Seriously, go online and look up terms like OIBDA. I wrote on Twitter earlier today, I said, you watch all these goof podcasters and websites out there that will not mention the term OIBDA. What is OIBDA? That is operating income. That's the money that you operate with before depreciation and before amortization. Amortization. Okay? I don't use that word all that much. All right? That's how some companies show how they're going in the business world. And if you understand that term and you look into what's going on with WWE, you will understand more why they got major, major problems. Are they going off the air? Absolutely not. Are they financially secure right now? Absolutely. Did they take a bath in the stock market? Yes. But I'm going to share with you two little tidbits that I guarantee you have not read about or heard about tonight or yesterday from any wrestling podcaster out there or any wrestling website. I'm going to read you very quickly an article about the stock. Very, very quick, but this is very important, okay? The old prediction, assumed continued improvement. I promise you this will not be boring, but I guarantee you once we're done, you'll have a better understanding of why WWE's got to be very worried right now. But the worry that you interpret it to be is not the same worry. Every website and podcaster out there are focusing on Wilson and Barrios being let go. Here's a little tidbit. For everybody listening live right now, a little tidbit, little trivia contest for you right now. Since everybody and their mother were oohing and ahhing and trying to get tweet banged over those two being let go, the co-presidents of the World Wrestling Entertainment, George Barrios and Michelle Wilson. Everybody, quickly, for $10, what year did they become co-presidents of WWE? What year? Now, I can't let you have more than 15 seconds because people right now are going on Google and saying, oh my God, when did they? Not one person right now is able to pull it up. Do you know when they became co-presidents of WWE? It's fascinating. They became co-presidents of WWE 2 years ago. All you read is, they've been with the WWE for 10 years and this and that. They became co-presidents of WWE 2 years ago. Did anybody know that? We're going to go a little bit further. We're going to have some fun tonight. And I can't wait till Monday. Yeah, you remember, you ever see Wrestling with Shadows, Bret Hart? You remember when his brother was talking about Stu, and Stu would get like a new member of the dungeon, and, you know, like Stu would realize that he's going to be able to choke the guy out, and Stu is like drooling, like he can't wait to get his hands on him. Like he's drooling all over the place. He's going to choke this motherfucker out. That's what I'm going to do Monday. Giving you advance notice on the DTKC show. I'm going to ask Kev his thoughts on what's going on with the stock market. I just want to see the perspective on Monday in his eyes and others. I hope he listens to the show and learns a little bit from it. And I'm not doing it to embarrass him. I swear on my mother, that's not my intention. But the reason why I say that is because there is so much misinformation out there and incomplete information out there. That's why you really if you want to be a good podcaster or a webmaster or a web blogger, you really need to do research. Look what's going on with Bret Hart, since we just talked about Bret. Did you see this on social media? Do you see that right there? All of these websites are talking about how he's got, basal cell carcinoma. He's got to get it removed. And people like, Bret, my thoughts are in prayers. He went through a stroke. Oh my God, this is so terrible for Bret Hart and this and that. You know what they do for that? Because my father had that done. Do you look at that picture again? If you look at that picture up close, do you see the two little stitches? They cut the piece of skin that has the skin cancer, and then they stitch it. As far as I know, there's no chemo involved. He has skin lesions from going in the sun. People are treating it like the other day. What was it, Kota Ibushi? Oh my God, he's bleeding inside. Oh, keep your prayers. That's unbelievable. Do some freaking research. All right. I'm not trying to minimize. Getting skin cancer from the sun sucks. All right, but what Bret Hart is having done is they snip, stitch, and that's it. It's nothing. He even said, from now on, when I go in the sun, it's suntan lotion. It's not like, oh, from now on, when I go in the sun, oh, let me do. He wasn't saying that. My God, people are like making it mortal. He had a stroke. When does Bret Hart get a break? Snip, stitch. Oh, what a relief it is. Best in the World says, I'm cringe. Nice to meet you, Best in the World. I'm cringe. You're best. So leave. You don't like it, leave. I'm just having fun here. So anyway, I say that with love. He's tuning in. I think it's a he. You know? Anyway. So getting back to the stock market thing, all right? Now you know Barrios and Wilson were named co-presidents only in 2018. Now, I'm going to give you another fascinating tidbit. I don't know if anybody out there remembers this, but I kind of bragged about it on social media before. October 31st, and this is very important, everybody. October 31st, 2019, I wrote online, expect a big drop in the WWE stock today. The latest financials are hitting the wire, and some of the numbers are pretty disappointing. I wrote that 3 months ago, okay? Now you saw what I wrote today about, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, I did a whole segment on the WWE stock in October, and I told everybody back then that the next quarter that's going to be released is the most critical one. And that quarter is released in February, which is next week. And what's so important about that is not only is that the next quarter that we have to worry about, but we then find out how WWE did in 2019. All right, now, here's another little tidbit that you're going to find fascinating. Fascinating. Everybody was talking yesterday in the wrestling world how the WWE stock yesterday went from $62 and all the way down to $48.88 tonight. All right, went down about $14. That's terrible. That's terrible. October 31st, 2019, that tweet you just saw me issue. You know what the WWE stock was that day? $68. Okay, you're going to say to me, oh, well, DT, the stock was better than what it was yesterday. Yesterday was 62. In October, it was 68. You know what it closed at November 1st, in 3 months ago? It closed at $53. The WWE stock went down $15 a share 3 months ago. Yesterday, it went down $13.12 a share. Which time period did Vince lose more money? Yesterday or October 31st? Nobody focused that on October 31st, 2019, the WWE stock went down $15. The drop yesterday to today was less. 90s guy. Do I think it's a good time to buy some WWE stock? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I told people yesterday, and the stock already went back up, I think $2 or $3 a share. Do not think that the release or the resignation of George Barrios and Michelle Wilson, do not think that it's doom and gloom for WWE. I'm going to get into a little bit more, and like I said, I'm not going to make this boring tonight. I'm not going to spend an hour on it, but I'm going to give you the overall of what is going on in the WWE right now that is really of concerning. And a lot of you may remember that I said, you take away the Fox TV deal, and you take away Saudi Arabia, and WWE is in, it feels like quicksand right now. It feels like they're stuck, and they're spinning the tires, and no matter what they do, they can't seem to get out of that rut. So now, let me go back to what I was saying before, okay? WWE, all right? The best way I could explain OIBDA is this, okay? I did a lot of reading on websites to try to give everybody out there a better understanding of what some companies do. And I'm going to explain OIBDA right now, 2-3 paragraphs, very, very quick, but trust me, I tell you, you'll really appreciate this, not just because of what's going on with the WWE stock, but remember, next week is the week where the WWE stock could tank again, because that's when the numbers are coming out. Check this out. I got this online for everybody, all right? Earnings reports serve as the quarterly report cards for all publicly traded companies, just like WWE. 4 times a year, every company in the stock market releases a big report to their stockholders detailing how much money it earned over the last 3 months. They also tell the stock market how much money they spent over the last 3 months, and most importantly, how much money is left over. Now, for everybody out there, if we put it in simple terms, if this was you, every 3 months, you're telling me how much money you had in your pocket 3 months ago, let's say $100, how much money you earned, let's say $200, how much money you paid out or you lost, and let's say $50. And then you end up with $150. You're like, wow, okay, I made $50 profit. 3 months ago, I had $100. Now I have $150. Okay? So far, I think we all understand this, okay? The problem is, modern earnings reports are far cut and dry, like I just explained. Earnings reports are equal parts of accounting statements and marketing materials. They want you to be perceived that things aren't the way they are. Longtime listeners, do you remember Dixie Carter's cash flow positive? Do you remember how I kept challenging her and kept calling it out and explaining to everybody what cash flow positive is? She did that interview. I don't remember if it was for Forbes or Sports Illustrated. I don't remember who interviewed her, but they let her get away with saying that she's cash flow positive. They asked her if TNA is losing money, and she said she's cash flow positive. And whoever interviewed her should have got bashed over the head with a 2x4 with nails in it, because they let her get away with that comment. And, it's probably the Chris Van Vliet, syndrome that, hey, I got to, be nicey, otherwise I don't get interview number 2 down the line. And I totally understand that. There's a market for that. But cash flow positive, I could be losing thousands of dollars right now. But if I take my money, my own personal money, and put it in my business bank account, and you look at my business bank account and it's not in the negative, I am cash flow positive. I have positive money flowing out. You understand? It's all semantics. And when you try to, give your investors as much positive news as possible, you want to please your current investors. You want to attract future investors. So you want to give the most optimistic report you possibly can. So companies use what's called OIBDA, operating income before depreciation and amortization. Okay? By choosing to use that way of reporting your numbers, a company could ignore their long list of non-operating expenses. For example, they don't have to list their tax deductions. They don't have to list their investments. They don't have to list their trademarks. They don't have to list a lot of things. And this is why a lot of companies prefer not to go that route. Now, if an accountant wanted to calculate the net income, the profit from a company, they would follow a set and this is very important, everybody. Remember this out of everything. Remember this. If an accountant really wants to figure out if a company is making a profit, they would follow a generally accepted rules and convenience called Generally Accepted Accounting Practices, which is called GAAP. It was established by the Federal Accounting Standards Advisory Board. You start with your gross income, you subtract all your expenses, and whatever is left over, if there's a plus, you have a profit. You could do it with podcasting. You start out with X amount of dollars, and you figure out bandwidth, website, taxes, this, that, gifts, prizes, streaming, merchandise, advertising, producers. You take all of that. Whatever you have left over, if it's more than what you had at the beginning of the month, you made more profit. If you have less than what you had at the beginning of the month, you have a loss. It is called GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Practices. Now, that OIBDA that I said earlier, they provide a non-GAAP method because they strip away all the extra cost of doing business. So basically, the OIBDA number is always going to be higher than the regular accounting method because they're leaving out all of these other expenses. So a lot of companies, you got to pay very, very close attention to what they say. WWE, I invite anybody out there, go to WWE corporate website right now. And I'm sorry this is not polished and professional because there's so many numbers that I have to dissect and research and absorb and give you. It's not easy to do this, the way I am. I just want to try to make it as simple as possible, simple English. But you go on the WWE corporate website right now, and you look at their press release for their financials for 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015. You look at where they start talking about their financials. There's a little tiny number 1 written right at the beginning of their report. And those are footnotes that are listed at the end of the reports. And when you go to look up number 1 that WWE has on all these reports, and they will have it on their report next week, what it says is this: the definition of adjusted OIBDA can be found in the non-GAAP measures released in their further report. So they are telling you right off the bat that they're not using the regular accounting, procedures that I said earlier, non-GAAP. WWE has to admit that. They're a publicly traded company. So you go and you read it further, and they tell you non-GAAP measures the company's adjusted OIBDA as operating income excluding depreciation and amortization, stock-based compensation, expense, certain impairment charges. They eliminate everything. They use the non-GAAP measure. So now, we got all that out of the way. You look at WWE 2017, 2018, up until 3 months ago, you will understand why George Barrios and Michelle Wilson are gone from their position. And it may not be so much of a bad thing. Check this out. In 2017, to 2018, when they were hired, the adjusted OIBDA that I just explained to you, it went up. In 2017, their adjusted OIBDA was $136.1 million. Okay, that's not bad. At that time, the stock market, they had told the investors that they expected that number to be less. So in 2017, WWE reported $136.1 million as their adjusted OIBDA. All right, follow that number. In 2018, that number jumped all the way up to 178.9 million. All-time record performance for the WWE. Second consecutive year. What happened at that time? Saudi Arabia deal. What happened? Overseas deals. Other things going on. So in 2018, when those numbers were revealed, they went and they promoted George Barrios and Michelle Wilson as co-presidents of WWE. This is 2018, okay? So now, as of 2018, Barrios and Wilson are now co-presidents of WWE. So now, a little bit further. This is the most important of what I see so far. When 2017 ended, Happy New Year, December 31st, 2017, WWE's adjusted OIBDA, remember I said earlier it was 136.1 million? This is how they got to that number using their accounting. Now remember, they eliminated all the other deductions because they use the non-GAAP accounting methods because they want the numbers to look as good as possible. The end of 2017, and this is where I think you'll probably enjoy the numbers more than anything. Of that 136.1 million that they came up with that number, of that 141.7 million was from media. 27.1 million of it was from live events. That's money from live events. Consumer products, 37.7 million. Corporate took 70.4 million. So when you add all those numbers up and then you subtract the 70.4 million from corporate, you end up with 136.1 million. Okay? So far, so good. So now, George Barrios, Michelle Wilson get promoted to co-president, WWE. December 31st, 2018. Now they're already co-presidents. Here's the numbers from the year before. Year before, they had 136.1 million. It jumped all the way up to 178.9 million. You'd think, okay, they're doing a pretty damn good job. Media in 2018 jumped from 141.7 million all the way up to 210.6 million. That is a huge increase. WWE Network, probably a big part of that. Live events. Now again, 2018, they jumped from 136 million all the way up to 178.9 million. So far, it sounds impressive, right? Get this. The end of December of 2017, they generated $27.1 million in money from live events. Even though they had that great increase in 2018, you know what their live event revenue was? $20.5 million. That went down $7 million. Even though they had that gigantic increase, live event revenue went downward. Not only that, consumer products went from 37.7 million down to 28.4 million. Corporate now took 80.6 million instead of 70.4 million. So if you look at those two groups, the one category that jumped tremendously was media, but the live event revenue went down. So you go a little bit further. 2018, international revenue increased 58% to 317.8 million, up from 201.3 million the prior year. And now they have the completed TV deal with Fox. They have the renewal with USA Network, and now they have the Saudi Arabia deal. So now we go to February 2019. We're 1 year in of Barrios and Wilson as co-presidents. So now, originally, the prior quarter, okay, this was the end of 2018. That quarter, those 3 months for the end of 2018, their adjusted OIBDA was 35.8 million for that 3 months period. The first quarter of 2019, that revenue went from 35.8 million down to 25.4 million. Here's where the excuses start coming in. In 2017, there were 101 total events, not including NXT, in that quarter that we were talking about. 68 of those events were in the United States. 33 events were overseas. All right, so now you go 1 year later. Did you read today, everybody, from Observer and others, that WWE is going to cut down some of their live events because of these problems? It's nothing new. A year ago, for that same quarter, they lowered their live events from 101 from the year prior down to 87. 64 of those events were in the United States, 23 overseas. They also talked about how the average price ticket went from $54.70 a ticket to $57.75 a ticket. They're raising their ticket prices and their attendance is going downward. Okay. Not only that, in 2018, international ticket sales went down $6.2 million. They blamed it on 10 fewer events, and they talked about how the average ticket price overseas went up to almost $65. All right, so you see where these numbers are going. So now when you see what happens next week and you compare it, they projected that their adjusted OIBDA for 2019 was going to be somewhere between 180 to 190 million. They are now reporting that it's going to be more towards the 180 million number. And here's why it's very concerning, because you can't use the WWE Saudi Arabia deal as an excuse anymore. You can't talk about all of these big deals that they did a year ago. So not only that, you have all of these reports going around online that WWE's ratings are declining, house show attendance is dropping, ticket sales are going up, and next week when those financials come out, you're going to see a substantial drop in live event revenue. Ever since Barrios and Wilson came aboard, live event revenue down. You see merchandising down. Now, you see some subtle changes with WWE's merchandise the last 2 years. Do you have DVDs coming out anymore? Blu-rays coming out? Back then we would have the rise and fall of ECW, the legacy of AWA. You had bios, this and that. Now they're doing everything on the WWE network, and you don't have people buying the merchandise like they used to. You don't have people going to the shows like they used to. And that is why the stock market took a tumble, because investors are very nervous of the numbers that are going to come out next week, which are going to be even worse than what they were a year ago. Now, I read morons on wrestling websites today that said we're going to find out that USA Network, WWE's getting no money for the USA Network deal. Yeah, they're doing it for free. I mean, you read some of the stupidity that's out there, and these are big-time websites. So investors found out, holy shit, the projected number next week is only around 180 million, which is the really low end. And this is on the heels of WrestleMania, Rousey, Becky Lynch, women's movement, this and that, Saudi Arabia, live events, we're going this way, upward. And it's not happening. So now WWE, in those 2 years, if you followed what Vince McMahon said today, and he said that we feel we need to go in a different direction, and what Barrios and Wilson foresaw how WWE goes further and makes their money is different than what Vince projects. A lot of this has nothing to do with TV, but it does. I mean, that may sound cute on a tweet, but here's what it comes down to. If nobody gives a shit about the Monday Night Messiah, if for a majority of the young kids who are now 2, 3, 4 years older, and they're a little bit, played out with, it's the big dog, leukemia or not, I don't see anybody saying, I'm going to go to WWE tonight because Roman Reigns, he's back from leukemia. Corbin's going to eat dog food. All right, AOP. If the overall product is lackluster on TV, you're going to be less inclined to go to WWE. We don't have untapped. What's up, Mr. Decker? He's listening, watching London Village. Thank you. Shout out to all of you. Look, you got AEW now. You have NWA, which is still small. It's still, a project in development. You have Ring of Honor, New Japan. You have Impact Wrestling, who's still surviving. You have MLW. You have New Japan trying to expand their footprint in the United States. Again, this is what I've said so many times in the past. Is it a wrestling boom, or is it more all these companies are just trying to get you to give them their money first? A lot of you out there, you see what's going on with podcasters and Patreon and the WWE streaming service and Impact Wrestling streaming service and IPPV pay-per-view and NWA. If you buy the pay-per-view on Fight TV by January 10th, you get $10 off and this and that. Everybody's trying to work out deals to get your money first. That's what it comes down to. That's why WWE offers, look, you get a month free. And if you sign up now, you get WrestleMania free. You get a blowjob free. You get this pay-per-view free. Everything is free. Me, like an idiot, what I should have done is have 50 emails set up and keep setting up trials, get a $10 Visa card, keep setting up a trial, cancel it. I did that with SiriusXM for 3 years, got satellite radio for free. But that's the reason why they're giving it, not because WWE loves you so much. They think that if you sign up for free, that, I'll keep it a month, and you forget that the credit card charge goes through. That's why when you get the free month, you still got to give them your credit card information, because when that month expires and the pay-per-view's right around the corner, all right, I'll let it run. So this is what's going on. So you have all of these companies from AEW to NWA and all the others that are all scrambling online that you and I watching, talking to each other. We don't have untapped money sitting on the sideline that we're going to throw $500 a month towards wrestling. You may have $50 that you could spend a month towards wrestling. And WWE obviously has their $10 subscription service. But again, look at I'm not going to repeat it again, but look at the 2017 and 2018 numbers. The big chunk of the revenue was media. But when it comes to live events, they're raising their ticket prices. Attendance is going down. Why is attendance going down? Because the people that you're watching on television, you're not entertained enough where you feel that you want to spend that money and go see it live and in person. And when you have other wrestling companies out there, look, is NWA competition for WWE? No. Is AEW competition for WWE right now? No. Is MLW competition for WWE right now? No. But when you take all of them and every single one of them is offering you some type of digital service, they're trying to get that part of that $50 before it reaches WWE. So sure, you may keep your WWE subscription, but you may not go to their live event coming up in Connecticut, for example, because, hey, I could use that money. I could watch AEW on pay-per-view. I could watch NWA. I could watch New Japan. I could use that $50 that way. And that's the problem, because at the end of the day, all of these wrestlers on TV, when you see these people online, all these announcements have nothing to do with the storylines in TV. Yes, they do. If they didn't, then the live events would not be going down. The ticket prices would not be going up to try to offset the attendance going down. Next week, pay attention to next week, because when those numbers come out, the last 24 hours, investors that were really, really nervous of what's going to happen next week, we don't know the exact numbers next week. And that's why the stock market dropped as much as it did yesterday, because a lot of those investors are petrified of what they're going to hear next week. So yesterday, they're like, I'm not even waiting until next week. Let me sell my stock now, because next week the stock may be $35 a share. Let me get out of there now. Let me sell my stock right now. And the more that they sold yesterday, the lower the stock went. So now I say, if people out there really wanted to buy WWE stock and were looking to do so, and have a little bit extra money to invest it in, now would probably be the good time to do it. Don't get me wrong. The WWE stock could go even lower next week. But I think, for the most part, a lot of the investors who were scared shitless yesterday, they're out of there. They sold their stock. They're gone. The ones who still have the stock right now, they're not stupid. They're not sitting there, oh, well, maybe these websites are wrong. Maybe it's exaggerated next week. You're already using the adjusted OIBDA. You're already using the non-accounting, methods that I said earlier. So there's very little manipulation. There's not really going to be a surprise. What's going to happen next week is you're going to see the breakdown of where things dropped. Did the WWE Network revenue, tank a little bit? Did live events continue to tank? Did international revenue continue to tank? What about licensing? All of these things are going to come into play next week. So the stock market, the price could go down even more next week. But let's be honest, everybody. WWE is still worth hundreds of millions. It ain't going out of business in a month. All right. They have capital. They have talent. I don't think it's any secret. We've all said, and I know a lot of you said it as well, that WWE, when they inked this crazy TV deal with Fox and they inked this big money deal in Saudi Arabia, a lot of you and I kept saying over and over again, wow, it seems like you might remember me saying this. Wow, it seems like WWE's got all this extra money and they're not doing anything with it. And they're probably keeping it aside for when the stock drops significantly. If they would have spent crazy, crazy money investing, taking the extra money, buying this, paying this, opening this, buying this, paying this, opening this, and then it doesn't generate to live event revenue going up or subscriptions going up, that's when you become seriously concerned for WWE. WWE ain't going out of business anytime soon. And as I said at the beginning of all of this, they had a bigger price drop 3 months ago than now, but yet nobody talked about that today. Nobody talked about how that revenue went down the first year that Barrios and Wilson were co-presidents. That revenue took a tank. Did anybody put any responsibility? You remember Vince's excuse last year? I know you will all remember this as soon as I say it. You remember when Vince was on the conference call and the investors were questioning him about the live event revenue being down? What did he say? He said, well, a lot of our wrestlers were injured and out. He brought up Roman Reigns. He brought up The Fiend. He brought up remember that? You could Google it if you don't remember it. Vince blamed all of those talents, and I swear on God, if you listen to that week's episode of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show and Breakfast with Blassie, I remember 2 times that week saying, Vince, they've been back for 6 months. Who else is on the back burner that hasn't been back? It was an excuse that you probably could have got away with a year and a half ago, but back in October, he used that excuse, I think, in October of last year. He blamed it on injuries. It was nonsense. What are you blaming on now? Do you remember in mid-2000s when the revenue started to go down, they blamed it on wrestling being cyclical, that because the economy is down and the bank crash, I think it was like 05, 06 around that time, they were blaming, well, wrestling is cyclical and the economy is this and that, but they just focused too much time on a core nucleus of talent. And for the last 5, 6 years, I will not be like others and blame it on Reigns or blame it on Rollins or blame it on any one person, because it's not any one person's fault. But when WWE insists on going this route, there's only so many times that Shane, Stephanie, Vince, and Triple H could go in the middle of the ring and say, we're going to listen to you now. We're going to give you what you want. We're listening. We want you to speak out. We want you to this. But meanwhile, every time you speak out and you're saying, well, you know what? I really don't like this, and this is really a problem. And then you get all the wrestlers who are very thin-skinned, a lot of them, and they're like, you have no right to say that. You're a hater. You don't like this. You've never been in the ring. That's the one thing that has changed about the WWE and social media over the last probably 2 years, is that a lot of people complain and bitch about everything. I've said it. I'm not going to be one of those podcasters online. I'm not going to be one of those websites online that uses my social media account to either complain about everything, to write catchy insults, and then when people still don't bring attention to me, I have to lie and say I rescued somebody from a burning building, or I reminisce about something that was very depressed in my life just to get a whole bunch of people say, we're thinking about you. Oh, yeah, we're thinking about you. I mean, you know what? This is such an awesome segue. And this goes out to everybody who's been following me for years before I came anywhere near YouTube. How many years? And I honestly, I rarely ever do this, but I'm going to make a claim right now. And I honestly think almost everybody out there has been listening to me for a long time will not dispute this. I think I have been the longest for about 5 years, maybe even longer, saying that social media is a disease for a lot of people out there, that social media has become their life. They have created these fake lives online, and because they seem nice, talk nice, act nice, respond to you, interact with you, that you think that what you read and see online is the truth. And then you take a step back and realize, I really know nothing about these people. And that is a drug. And I've been saying, Robert William Crowe wrote a book and gave me a lot of credit for saying, DT, you're probably the first person I ever heard say online repeatedly that social media is a cancer. It's like heroin for a lot of people online. I think I said it last week and the week before. Mauro Ranallo. I invite anyone out there, go look at Mauro Ranallo's interview that he did this week for TSN 1040 in Vancouver. And what did Mauro Ranallo say? Social media is a disease. He talks about everything that I have been saying for 5, 6, 7 years now. He experienced it. He said he will never go back to social media. He said it's a disease. I'm going to get into that a little bit more on Monday because I know this has already gone a little bit long, but it's so powerful. And look, you feel bad for Mauro Ranallo because of the whole thing with Corey Graves. But when you hear what he says about social media, I mean, you feel bad for the guy, but other people are starting to pick up on this also. I mean, it's a disease, but I'm not going to spend my time, on social media bitching, complaining, woe is me stuff. I'd rather just be positive, and positive is boring. I mean, look, I found earlier today, for anybody that goes back with me on the indie circuit here in the Northeast, you might remember USA Pro Wrestling, Frank Goodman, UXW. We used to have all of this fun, and we used to have a ball. Well, there was a wrestler that I used to be friends with, Jimmy Hustler, God rest his soul. Anybody that goes back with me 15 years, you know that I used to bounce at a Russian nightclub with Jimmy Hustler in Brooklyn, for about 2 years. And used to have a ball. Jimmy Hustler tried to start his own wrestling company. And honestly, I think that's what killed him. And, we supported his wrestling company, but it did not draw well. And just going through my old hard drive last week and trying to find a lot of retro stuff that I want to share with all of you on YouTube. And I'm going to start throwing crazy retro stuff that goes back over 20 years. It's going to be awesome. But while going through my stuff, I found a clip that I recorded from my cell phone almost 15 years ago. I mean, technology obviously has dramatically changed as far as cell phone quality and everything like that. But I recorded about 45 seconds of, I think, his first event for ABC Wrestling. And it was just hilarious because some of you out there may remember a tag team, the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, EC Negro, Casey Blade. I've told a lot of hilarious stories of hanging out with them, from, strip bars back in the day and other stuff. We went to this event and I sat with Casey Blade in the crowd. There was only 2 or 3 rows of chairs. And he put on like a Rey Mysterio mask and he called himself Joe, the mask heckler. And the entire night, and this event is on our video. And the event's not bad because you got Mercedes Martinez on there. You got, we had a legend Tito Santana. I mean, there is some great talent on this card. He was in this crowd heckling everybody, and I swear on my mother, I legitimately peed my pants a little bit that night. He had me laughing in stitches that I literally told him I got to go take a leak. And because it was just so funny, I literally looked down and the middle of my pants got wet. He made me laugh so hard. And just going through my hard drive, I found this little clip from almost 15 years ago of us just sitting in the crowd. Just look at this clip. It's only 45 seconds, but I'll tell you what this has to do with Twitter.
This is ABC Pro Wrestling.
All right, here we go.
These are all the people in the attendance. As we can see, it's a loaded show tonight. And I'm with my good friend Joe.
Hola.
Rey Mysterio Joe.
¿Cómo estás? No hablo. Perdona.
I can see the fans no hablos direcciones because nobody showed up. They all said vamos.
A stupid little clip, but I thought it was hilarious because that was almost 15 years ago, just pulling it out of one of my old hard drives. And I posted it online. I figured some people out there would get a good little laugh at that. And I think maybe 2 or 3 people liked it. You know, you put fun stuff, just things hilarious. Nobody pays attention to it. That's what social media is. So, you know, a lot of what I say online is not, you know, fun things. You got to be outrageous. You got to insult. You got to write catchy bullshit. You have all of these guys with the Naomi thing. Oh, me, I. That year was 2006, March 2006. And, yeah, I just pulled it out of my hard drive. Shout out to Casey Blade, EC Negro. But we had so much fun that night, man. Oh, and, you know, I could even share this with you, too. This is a picture that we took in the ring. I give you a bigger picture. That is Joe the Masked Heckler. That's Casey Blade of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Me. And thank God the bottom of that belt is like blocking my penis area, because I swear on my mother there was a little bit of a stain. I peed my pants. He had me laughing so much. And look at the background. That is not the AWA, the infamous AWA. He had to rent the ring. But, you know, what's sad about that is I said that Jimmy Hustler is no longer with us. But he died in November of 2006. And I went to the funeral. And it was so sad, man. He was young. He was like 35 years old. Yeah, he died. I mean, he started the promotion around March of 06, and he died in November of 06. So, you know, rest in peace, Jimmy Hustle. I mean, gone but never forgotten. And you know, in the future, I'll tell a little bit of stories, you know, about things. And trust me, some of the things I'm pulling out of my hard drive are gems. They're absolute gems. I mean, you have no idea some of the things. That's one thing that I thank God in. You know, yes, I go back to 1997 doing this stuff, but a lot of you only know me as part of DTKC. DTKC was probably this much compared to everything that was going on at that time. There's going to be so much content and stuff, you know, me doing stuff as well. Yeah, I stunk up the joint. You know, I was not good as an indie wrestling manager, but I had a ball and I got some doozies. Oh my God, you have no idea what I have planned to show. And no, it's not sad, Garth. It was just a lot of awesome stuff. And, you know, I kind of regret not going video and going YouTube years ago, but better late than never, right? We could look back and we have some good fun and good memories. And, you know what? God bless Tito Santana, because, you know, even if you look at that picture again, I mean, it looks pretty damn good at that time. I mean, we look at Tito Santana now, but, you know, that's about 14 years ago. And you could look at my receding hairline at the time. That's, you know, before my hair improved. But, yeah, so there you go. You know, there you go. But I figured I'd share it with all of you out there. But, other than that, trying to see what else we want to get into tonight. Definitely want to comment quickly about AEW and NXT's ratings. Before I do that, got to give a congratulations to LR Mania. We had the Royal Rumble pay-per-view predictions contest this past weekend. And out of, I think, a best 44 points, LR Mania scored number 1 with 41 points. And Jamie Vaquera, I think it's pronounced, he is the runner-up winner. He scored 39 points. So LR Mania, you get your choice of anything on the prize wall. And Jamie, you get your choice of any video or T-shirt or like $25 or something like that. But congrats to both of them. And special shout out to Jishon Chambers. It's his birthday Monday. So I will definitely mention it again on Monday. So happy birthday to you, my friend. Now, AEW, NXT ratings. A lot of you tuned in to Wednesday Night Dynamite. And I gave you my ratings predictions that day. I said that AEW would defeat NXT once again. My prediction was AEW gets 888,000 viewers. NXT gets 734,000 viewers. Well, the actual numbers, not too far off. AEW scored 828,000 viewers. NXT scored 712,000. So, the trend continues. I've been saying it all along. AEW is about Moxley and Jericho and the Young Bucks and Omega and Hangman Page for the most part, and then it's everybody else. That's really what it is. And they are the meat and potatoes. Now, hopefully Brody Lee goes to that company within the next 2 months. You hear rumors about Brian Cage. You hear rumors about others. So they definitely, and I made this prediction already, that by July, you're going to have at least 2 very big names in that company and not in there now. And I don't even know if I would put Brian Cage or Brody Lee on that level as a top. I mean, could they be top main event? Absolutely. Why not? I have my Brody Lee shirt sitting on the sideline waiting for his debut, and then I'll wear it. And, I also to have a little fun because my co-host, he had joked a while back. He said he never knew anybody who owned any Brody Lee, merchandise, Luke Harper merchandise. As soon as he said that, I'm like, motherfucker, I wish I was on YouTube right now. I literally just get up, walk to my closet, pick up the Brody Lee shirt, and somebody's saying right now, I don't believe you, Don. Don't challenge me, dude, because I will always prove myself. I back everything up. I mean, that's, I think, a great thing about me, but it's also a negative thing about me. I always feel that I have to, to prove that I'm not bullshitting about it because there's so much fake out there. There's so much fraud. It's garbage. But there's a great interview online right now with Jon Moxley. He did an interview with Fightful. And what I absolutely love about that video is something I've been saying for the last couple of years. Sure, kayfabe is dead. No question. But I love wrestlers who still try to kick it old school a little bit and will try to keep some aspects of a storyline going outside of the ring. I brought up, Zack Ryder as an example because it was such a mainstream storyline because it was on television. Zack Ryder playing off that his leg was still broken. If you want to go years earlier, Shawn Michaels, when he had that storyline with JBL and Shawn Michaels. In fact, there was an autograph signing here in New York that I actually was involved in with Shawn Michaels. The Video Game Central, I'm sure a lot of you remember that. I used to do a lot of the work with the autograph signings with the online stuff. Did one for Brock Lesnar, did one for Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, met them all. And Shawn Michaels showed up wearing an eye patch. I mean, it was fucking phenomenal. But I loved watching this interview with Moxley. It's about a 20, 25-minute interview. It's not a 2-minute fluff piece. And he praises AEW, he praises the fans, he praises, being able to be himself and this and that. But what I loved more than anything is he had the eye patch on. I mean, again, yes, kayfabe is dead. But when you have some wrestlers that invest, that's why I think that's where I got most of my hatred for Nikki Bella. It's not a personal hatred. I don't hate her personally, but I will never forget when her, and if you think I'm lying, go look it up. I'll never forget when her and Brie were doing that storyline on TV. Nikki, stop. You should have died in the womb. I hate you, Bree. And then they were spotted in a California restaurant a couple of days later and taking pictures for websites. They're in the middle of a... Look, everybody crapped on Rusev and Lana for announcing their engagement on TMZ when they're in the middle of doing a storyline on TV where Lana and Rusev are not getting along. And then they announced their engagement. I criticized them as well. They have ate a lot of plates of shit because of that. I hope people realize how much shit that Lana and Rusev had to eat because of that. So as much as you may not like the whole wedding storyline and everything like that, I actually give them a little bit of credit because they're trying to take chicken shit and turn it into chicken salad. And I honestly think that some people, do see that now. But Nikki and Brie, because of the Bella Army, because of who they were, nobody would take them to task. They're in the middle of TV. You should have died in the womb. Nikki, stop. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. And they're eating dinner together in freaking public, not even a week later. It just shit like that pissed me off more than anything else. Really. So just, again, I made my comments Wednesday about the whole pregnancy stuff. You could go check out my channel. Dell's put up the clip on its own if you haven't seen it yet. Richard's asking me, have I ever considered being a promoter for a major indie promotion? Sure. I actually, the last ever Elks Lodge show at the time, USA Pro Wrestling. I mean, it's a very well-known story, and you could ask him, he's still alive. People, it's funny when people die, all of a sudden, oh, he was my best friend. Oh, I talked to him last week. We just had dinner together. It's not just regular people do it. I mean, celebrities do it as well. But Frank Goodman's still alive. I went halves with Frank Goodman, not necessarily halves. He laid out more money, but we went partners for 2 or 3 USA Pro Wrestling events, and one of them was called End of an Era. At the time, it was the last ever pro wrestling show at the Elks Lodge, the original Madhouse of Extreme ECW. And me and him went halves, and that night, he's alive, you could ask him. He'll tell you I'm 100% being accurate right now. He wanted to have a reuniting that night. He wanted to reunite the Dungeon of Doom. Kamala, Kevin Sullivan, Zodiac, whoever could be involved. And I told him, I said, look, this is the former ECW home for New York, the Madhouse of Extreme. Sure, they were, on other areas on Queens Boulevard, but, the Madhouse of Extreme, the Elks Lodge, was legendary. I said, we got to do something in ECW. I said, let's reunite the Triple Threat. And at the time, I was friendly with Bam Bam Bigelow. You all know the story about me, Bam Bam, and, trying to sell the ECW ring for him, and him wanting me to hawk all his stuff on eBay. But, we were friendly with Bam Bam, so Bam Bam was an easy get. Shane Douglas was already working out a deal with Frank Goodman to be there. The problem is the wild card was Chris Candido and Sonny. And at the time, I had just finished doing work with XPW, and people were concerned that Chris Candido and Sonny were not clean. And this is a true story. And Frank Goodman said to me, and once again, I'm sorry for keeping saying this because, like I said, the one thing that I take pride in from 1997 is my reputation. I don't like lying. I'm not good at lying, and there's no reason for me to lie. You could ask him right now, play this clip for him, and he'll tell you he's being 100% accurate. Frank Goodman said to me, he says, you want the Triple Threat to reunite? You need to pay out of your pocket all the money for Sonny and Chris Candido. Because if they don't show up, or if they show up in no condition to perform, you're the one that's going to get stuck with the tab. Plus, that's going to be the focal point of that night, and you're going to be responsible. You're going to take the loss. And I had put a decent amount of money in that show. So I paid money out of my pocket to bring them both in, and they were perfect. They were excellent. They tore the building down. At the end of the night, Bam Bam Bigelow is legitimately mooning the crowd, more garbage being flinged into the ring than you would see with NWO. There is footage of it. And the Triple Threat reunited, and it was awesome. And it was just absolutely spectacular. And that was the last ever Elks Lodge show at the time. They would once again have wrestling there for many years later, but I was involved in several shows. Problem is that I didn't have that kind of money just sitting there, waiting to be blown on a wrestling show. Plus, at the time I had some people online that absolutely hated my guts and would do everything possible to, just destroy anything that I was involved in, sabotage it. I mean, everybody knows the New Jack in the Box disaster. One day I'll share it with everybody here. But I could go on and on and on, people trying to sabotage stuff. And I can't risk losing everything just so I could say that I did shows. I think, like I said, I think that's what killed Jimmy Hustler. In fact, I'm pretty convinced with it. I don't want to get into a lot of personal stuff, but it led to some bad habits. That's probably the best way for me to say it. And he caught a heart attack. And if you look at pictures of Jimmy Hustler online, he doesn't look out of shape. He was a lot skinnier than me. And he was a pretty impressive bouncer, when we used to bounce the Russian nightclub. And, I just didn't want to take that risk. Would I do it now? Hell no. Hell no. I have too much going on in my life. I'm older. I got little health issues that I have to be concerned with. I got a significant other in the other room that I plan on marrying in the next 2 years. I got to get my life and, squared away. I don't have the time to do that. I wish I could have, but, as much as I would love to, no, I don't. Would I work for a wrestling company to give input? Sure, I would. As long as it could be worked out with my schedule, I would do it in a second. And, but I don't think that's going to happen. And, speaking of, I mentioned this earlier today, and look, I'm not going to play a Jacksonville announcement thing like AEW did because they got burned for that. But I'm just saying this for people that live on the Northeast. I was talking to my girl earlier about, going away for a couple of days, maybe in April. We don't get the opportunity to go away more than 2-3 days. So we were going to go to Connecticut, Mohegan Sun. That's where I went when I got engaged in November. And when we were looking earlier, as far as hotel and, possibly when we could go, it hit me. Why doesn't AEW consider having an episode of Dynamite at the Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut, in Cassville? The arena seats about 8,000 fans. Taxes in Connecticut are much cheaper than New York and some other areas. And I have never had a bad time at Mohegan Sun. So I honestly think she's not tied up in the other room. It's late over here. It's midnight. She's probably sleeping. But, and she would never go on video. She's shy. If you want to get the closest you can, there's a picture of her and me. And anyway, there's a picture on my Twitter when we got engaged. You could see the ring and everything. So, but, no, but seriously, I don't know if AEW has pursued Connecticut, but I think them having an episode of Dynamite at Mohegan Sun Arena would be awesome. And it's not that far that New Yorkers couldn't go. I'm sure you would want to make a night out of it because, it is about a 100-mile drive, but it's not that bad. And, I hope they consider it. WWE has had events there, and I don't think Mohegan Sun is going to be exclusive for WWE, to be honest with you. They've had boxing there, MMA they recently had there. I really think that we should have AEW have an event in Mohegan Sun. I think that would be awesome. Shezzy wants to know, what about me on commentary? I wouldn't do commentary. I did commentary once. I did play-by-play for one Frank Goodman USA Pro Wrestling show. This was in 2003 or 2004. It was so bad, and the show was never released on home video, on VHS. The commentary, it wasn't just me. It was me and two other people. It was so awful. I'm not a play-by-play guy. I never was. And he's like, hey, you want to do play-by-play? I'm like, all right, I'll try it. And my God, it was horrendous. I would never even think twice of doing that again. I know. Could never ever do that again. So anyway, just to finish up a couple of questions last week. And you know what? I appreciate all of you who suggested this. Last week we had, what was it, WR1 Network? I don't remember if he went under another name, but he's the one that actually had the WWE logo tattooed to his head, his face. The video of him getting the tattoo is online. And I saw his YouTube channel, and I felt so bad for him because he got like 100 likes and 150 dislikes. And people like, oh, you're a goof. Now when WWE changes their logo, what are you going to do? There's a guy that'll never land a job because he's got WWE logo tattooed to his face. Would I ever do that? No, I wouldn't even do that for my mom or for pussy or for any other reason. But hey, he had the balls to do that, and he doesn't regret it. And I think WWE not giving him complimentary tickets for a show in his area is pretty piss poor pathetic on their part. So I say we give him the bobblehead for the Q&As that were sent in last week. So definitely email me, dontony@dontony.com. Want to send you a bobblehead. So one of my bobbleheads will find a new home. Jim Con, 1479. Do I believe in aliens, ghosts, or paranormal stuff? I believe in ghosts. I think that there is life on a different planet. You know, I mean, if there's life on Earth, why couldn't there be life on other planets? I think that there is. You know, the paranormal stuff, you know, you see some of the alleged happenings. You know, when people say that they got, you know, kidnapped from aliens, my answer to that is watch Live PD, which is a show that I am now become obsessed with. I even went on Amazon trying to hope that they had like a box set. The only thing they had were T-shirts. I didn't buy a T-shirt yet, but Live PD, I love it. And all you see over and over again is people on meth, crystal meth, meth or fentanyl or whatever that shit is. I mean, and these people think that Jesus Christ, they just are totally out of their minds. So when I hear people saying they got convinced, you know, kidnapped from aliens, you know, I sometimes think that this might be the result of a lot of drug abuse over the years. It's just strange how nobody ever has any really big proof of that. Richard, who would I like to see as Undertaker's last opponent? I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe Kane. I don't think Undertaker really needs to have that one and done match. And the reason why I say that is because we all thought him versus Roman Reigns was his final match. And everybody remembers how bad that match ended up. And WWE and Undertaker were like, nah, I ain't going out like that. So you could advertise, you know, his final match all you want. If it ends up being the drizzling, god-awful shits, then what are they going to do? Try to come up with a storyline to redo it again? Is he going to leave another outfit in the middle of the ring and then go back and get it? You know, you might be safe with Triple H or somebody like that, but even that, you remember what happened in Saudi Arabia with DX reuniting? Shawn Michaels, all those years that all of us said one more match and he ignored it. But because somebody in Saudi Arabia and the government says, one more match. Okay. I don't blame him. He needed, you know, the money was big and it's for his family. Any one of us would have taken it. Most of us, I should say. But look what happened. Shawn Michaels and Triple H versus Kane and The Undertaker. You know, it failed for the most part. I gave him A for trying. So I don't like this idea of one last match for Taker. I don't want to see him get hurt or injured, but maybe one of the best things that can happen to Undertaker is that, you know, he slips outside the ring. Maybe he's on his fucking property, slips, tears a hamstring or something, knee totally ripped apart. I'm done. You know, I'm out of the ring. That's it. Because I don't want a last match advertised, and then if it's horrible, then you got to either have that last impression of him. It's bad enough the last impression it was not too long ago. We remember that. So, never been to Canada. Always wanted to go, though. Roger Rubio, my opinion on Jesse Ventura, wrestler, commentator, politician. I liked him as a politician when he first ran. What's up, Zach Rena? I always called that Shawn Michaels in Saudi, the Saudi money. Yeah. I mean, it was nice to see him perform, but, on the flip side, we have a right to be a little bit annoyed that, man, we called you out for years. One more match, one more match, one more match. I vowed I'd never hit the ring, And, WWE's $1 billion company. I just can't believe that Saudi Arabia offered so much money to Shawn Michaels that WWE couldn't have done themselves, years before. He didn't get $100 million. You understand what I'm saying? So the fact that one more match, I'll never come back. I keep my word. One more match. Okay. That's how I always felt about it. And I think, and I'm not trying to be a jerk right now, but maybe the quality of that match was, kind of like the wrestling gods all coming together and saying that is for turning down your fans for years, but didn't turn down the Saudi cash. So we're going to, put the banana peel on the floor, the proverbial banana peel. So, I don't know. I don't know who's next for Goldberg. I don't know what's going to happen with Austin. Saudi Arabia, who knows, could come back. I said, maybe we get the Hardys, maybe you get the Dudleys, and maybe you get, I don't know about Edge and Christian. Christian is not medically cleared, and I know what some of you are going to say. Well, he's not medically cleared in the United States, but Saudi Arabia might be. Christian, you're good. 2 minutes. You don't need to do anything. You're good. Concussion, blah, 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 blah. Oh, headache. Take 2 Tylenol. You're okay. Problem. WWE doesn't want to take that risk. So, let's see. Jesse Ventura, as far as a wrestler, I thought he was good. Wasn't spectacular, but he was awesome on the mic. Always charismatic. Loved his commentating work. Thought he was awesome. Daniel Medina, what's up, my friend? Would I ever do cooking segments on YouTube? Absolutely. I almost did one a couple of days ago. I was going to make my keto fried rice with shirataki rice and stuff, but I didn't do it. I make this faux fried rice because I'm on keto diet. I take cauliflower rice and I mix it with, was it shirataki? Is that what it's called? There's a brand shirataki rice with oat fiber, and I mix that in, and then fry it in olive oil a little bit, add a little bit of turmeric, garlic powder, onion powder, and then I'll add like 1 or 2 eggs, add a little bit of clarified butter with it, mix that son of a bitch together, and it's pretty close to Chinese fried rice. It's not so bad. But the only problem with eggs, for anybody that just is curious about random stuff, whenever I make myself eggs, it's got to be scrambled. And I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. When you crack an egg open, you always see that little bit of white that looks like, the egg had a load inside of it, like a sperm thing. It doesn't matter. Even if I make myself 4 eggs, I take a fork and I will always have to pick out that little bit of white. You know what I'm talking about? When you crack an egg open, you see the nice yolk and you see the other part, and then there's this white, looks like somebody dropped a load in it. I always got to remove that stuff. But yeah, I am going to be doing cooking stuff in the future. I just need another 6 weeks with this. I thought 2 months being on video is enough time for me to get comfortable, for me to also make sure of every little issue. I mean, my sincere apologies earlier for that 1 minute of echo, and I think at one point earlier, the webcam didn't have my graphic on there. Little things like that are not, they're not acceptable to me. So once 2 months I'm into this and everything is really smooth and, I don't have to put much thought and work into it other than preparation for content, then I'll start expanding this. 6 months from now, you'll be blown away by the amount of content that will be on this channel. And I won't be alone. I'm going to be doing some stuff with Andre Corbeil. I'm going to be doing something with Joey Numbers very, very soon. We'll have Mish on here once in a while. There's a couple other people that I plan on bringing aboard, some names that you would never in a million years ever expect to be on here. One or two of them have blue check marks next to their names. This is going to be huge. It is going to be massive. And that's why I have to keep stressing to everyone that this is my channel. It's not a DTKC channel. Because right now, and this is not trying to say anything negative, it's just a fact. DTKC Show is about 20% of the overall stuff that I do. So, I don't want anybody to think, oh, what about this or what about this? There's a lot of things planned that is outside of that circle. But, it's got to progress on a natural basis. It's got to progress over time. I think after, I would definitely love to do at least one episode with Vince Russo. Never say never. I would absolutely love it. And we almost did something last year. But, unfortunately, a lot of people just didn't, want to take the time to say, yeah, I would love to have it. And, people thought I wasn't kidding. I don't know if I said 500 likes or 1,000 likes on Twitter. But I was like, if I get this number of likes by this date, then we'll do that episode. And I think it fell like 100 short. And I said, nope, not doing it. It's amazing. When you get some people who complain about something on social media and everybody runs to, comment about it. But when you want to do something positive and nobody wants to pay attention to it, then no, I won't do it. I stick to my thing. Jim Cornette would never, ever want to do something with me. First of all, I'm out of his league. The guy, even though I disagree with a lot of his stuff, the guy is just up here and I'm all the way down here. I wouldn't insult him like that. Plus, I think if he knew my political, beliefs, probably would not want to do anything with me. But Shezzy says that I aimed for 500 at that time and I have about 477. Yeah, that might be all right. I only put it up for like 2-3 days. Like, I didn't want to look, if I keep it up for a month, of course it's going to get 500 likes. But it was like, man, if you really want it that bad, then like this. And it wasn't like, oh my God, I just got 500 likes. Let me go smoke a cigarette or vape. I just got tweet laid. No, I just wanted to see how much interest there was. And we didn't hit that number. So I stick to what I say. Let me see. Thank you very much for the kind words, Daniel. I don't exist. Can I tell the stories about how I got punched by a 70-year-old man or took a dump under a wrestling ring? Well, first off, in my insurance office, I got punched out by an 85-year-old man about 10 years ago. He was in his, I think it might have been like 82 years old. The short story of it, without getting into the whole thing, is that I don't do any shady stuff in my insurance office. In my neighborhood, there's a lot of former gangsters, a lot of cardboard gangsters, and some very questionable people. And I've had times over the years, there's one infamous story where some woman was on a boat in Howard Beach, and while she was on the boat with her family, her kids, there was some punk with a jet ski going around the boat. Because she was on the boat with her friends and they were wearing bikinis, like this jerk on a jet ski starts circling the boat. Another friend comes over and they're trying to talk to them and they're not interested. And I think even maybe somebody on the boat told them, leave us alone. And they started like getting really close to the boat so it would rock, and little kids started crying and everything. I didn't know about this story until afterwards. And what happened was that following Monday or Tuesday, somebody from the neighborhood came in and said, hey, Anthony, I need you to do me a favor. I'm like, sure, what's up? He says, I need you to run me this license plate for this boat trailer. He pulled out of this boat dock and he hit the side of my car and he left the scene, and I don't know who to report it to the insurance company. Now, if I run a license plate, when it gets registered to DMV, it shows who ordered the plate. So I said to the guy, I'm like, well, look, give me your insurance info so I can say that it's related to an accident, this and that. He's like, well, I really don't want to bring that in. He says, can't you just run the plate? He's like, yeah. And he offered me a couple $100 to run it. The minute somebody offers me that kind of money to run a plate, I know it's something not of what he's saying. And I said, look, I appreciate the money and everything, but I can't do it. And, if anything happened, nothing's going to happen. What are you trying to say? I'm going to do something? Just run the plate. What the fuck is your problem? I didn't run the plate because if something would have happened and the cops or investigators look to see who requested a report to run this plate number, it's going to come back to me. So I find out later on that he got some Polish guy in Forest Hills to run the plate. And basically, he got the guy's address. They went to the guy's house, and I think they cracked his trailer in half, threatened to, blow his brains out or beat the shit out of him. And that's when I heard the story about the guy in a jet ski was, harassing his family. And the guy showed up at his house. So I don't like doing anything shady. So fast forward, about 5-10 years ago, whatever it was, I have this guy who has insurance with me. And he also has his son insured with me. And his son at the time was about maybe 50. And his son, had a vehicle on the policy with me. This 85-year-old man had a car in his policy too. They had 2 or 3 cars on there. So anyway, the son is selling, let's say, a Jeep. I don't remember the model of the car, but it was, let's say, a Jeep. He was selling a Jeep to somebody. So the guy wants me to take the insurance off the Jeep. And make a long story short, in New York, you're supposed to turn in your plates first before you take a vehicle off a policy. Another way, a vehicle come off is if you cancel for not paying a bill, this and that. But the guy wanted me to take the vehicle off the policy now. And I said, well, you got to turn the plates in. He says, well, I'm leaving it parked on the street for a week. The person is not coming by for a week to pick it up and this and that. So I said to him, I said, look, if I take the insurance off the policy now, there's going to be no insurance on it while it's sitting outside for a week. He's like, don't worry about it. Well, anyway, the son decides during that week that he's going to use the Jeep a couple of days. Gets into a massive car accident. Hits a car hits a pole, woman's in serious condition. Guy calls me up, I got to put in a claim. I'm like, claim for what? He says, I got into an accident with the Jeep. I said, there ain't no coverage. He's like, what do you mean there ain't no coverage? I said, you told me to take the Jeep off last week. I told you there'd be no coverage and you got to turn in the plates. So they were trying every way possible. It's like, could you see if the insurance company would make an exception? This and that. I'm like, look, I could try, but I can't guarantee nothing. So the insurance company said, no, we're not covering the accident. He took the vehicle off the policy. He should not have used the vehicle. So anyway, they kept bothering me every day about this. And I'm like, look, I tried. There's nothing else I could do. So the 85-year-old man comes in. He sits at my desk. And I don't know if I still have the footage. I kept the footage because I called the cops at that time. By the way, if you go on my Facebook, and I'm sure a lot of you have never seen the footage yet, you'll see the footage of me falling off a ladder like Mick Foley, top of hell in a cell. You'll see me with a shredder machine blowing up in my face. I got to put that video on here. But I had the video. I had to call the cops. Guys basically really pressuring me to somehow put this claim through. And he would not leave my office, and he got me so upset. And I said to the guy, I'm like, look, you're in this situation because your son refused to listen to anybody, and he used the Jeep, even though he knew there was no coverage on there. So if there's anybody to blame for this, it's your son, and I don't know why you insist on putting the blame on me when your son is the one that fucked up. Guy got up, punched me right in the mouth. I didn't even know what to do. I mean, I was just in shock more than anything else. And then my immediate instinct is if I punch this 85-year-old guy back and he dies, number one, yeah, I got footage and all that stuff, but this guy's from the neighborhood. Then I got to worry for the rest of my life that maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, somebody just goes to whack me. Hey, that's for blah, 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 blah. So I didn't hit him back, but I immediately called somebody downstairs and said, I need somebody to come up here before something really goes bad. And there was a customer in my office that saw all this. And the cops got called and everything. And the funny thing about it is, and I swear on my mother, they apologized after. I accepted the apology. I swear on my mother, to this day, They both have insurance with me. Because the 85-year-old man, I didn't press charges, and he cried to me. And he said to me, he goes, look, he says, I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid my son's going to lose everything. He's being sued and this and that. He apologized to me. And I said to him, I said, look, I said, you know, I don't know how it feels to be in that situation, but, you know, I know that you were just desperate. I accepted his apology. I let it go, you know. But when he clocked me, it was good. I mean, if I still have the footage, maybe I'll blur his face out or something, but you'll see the gray hair and you see he just like punched me right in the face. Surprised the shit out of me. So, shitting under the ring, you know, very, very simple. You know, I worked a wrestling event. This was the event in Brooklyn where, you know, I couldn't do this now because people accused me of being a racist. We were in Spanish Harlem. And, you know, I was managing at the time, I don't know if it was Homicide and Reefer. Homicide had nothing to do with it, but I was managing, I think, Reefer at the time. And it ended up being a tag match of Homicide and Reefer versus Sandman and something. And I was doing this thing where I walked around ringside and I had a can of air freshener, like Glade. And, you know, now remember, this is Spanish Harlem, so it's a minority neighborhood. So it wasn't meant in any racist way, but I just walked around the ringside area and I kept spraying air freshener. I was like, oh my God, these people smell like shit. What the hell, what's up with Spanish Harlem? I had so much hatred going my way. And the cool thing about it is after the show was over, I can't tell you how many people were sitting front row like, oh man, that was fun. You know, they didn't take it personal. I didn't say anything. It had nothing to do with color or anything like that. But the visual, you would have been like, oh my God, what the hell is this guy doing? But later on in that night, Sandman was in the ring and I did like a goofy, like bad cartoon segment. I went into the ring and it's Mr. Big's wrestling show. I know some of you talk to Mr. Big. Ask him. I offered Mr. Big hundreds of dollars to give me that footage. So, because it was probably one of my most favorite segments I've ever done in indie wrestling. I went into the ring. Sandman's in the corner. I go to spray him with the air freshener and nothing is coming out. And I'm going like this and nothing is coming out. And Sandman is looking at me with this hate in his eyes. And the fans at ringside all want to see me get my ass kicked because earlier I'm spraying air freshener in the crowd saying they all smell like shit. So I'm spraying it. And Salmon is looking at me like, I'm going to cane the fuck out of you in a second. And I'm spraying, nothing's coming out. And then I go look at it and I like this. And then I hit the button on purpose and I'm spraying it all in my eyes and it's really getting in my eyes. So I'm blinded for a second. He starts caning me with Singapore cane. And I got scared. I went, ah! And I ran under the ring. And the match went on for like 10, 15 minutes and I'm under the ring. And there was so much adrenaline, I had to take a shit. So I look under the ring, I see, you know, like equipment, I see bags, I see this, and I see a bunch of rags. One of them had oil in it, the other one looked clean. And I'm like, I can't hold this in. And I'm not going to shit my pants because I think I drove Louie and Reefer there and stuff, so I had to drive people home. So while we were under the ring, I started laughing my ass off. I pulled my pants down, and I took like a shopping bag, and I went sideways, and I shit in the shopping bag. I took the rag, I wiped my ass with the rag, I closed up the bag. I had air freshener, so I sprayed around that area, and then I just left the bag under the ring and never said nothing. So that is true. True story. I got caned from Sandman, air freshener sprayed in my eyes, and went under the ring and took a shit. And everything but the shit is on video. Like I said, I've offered Mr. Big hundreds of dollars to send me this footage. I don't know why he never put this event on home video. It was such a fun event. Not even because I had anything to do with it, but it was the favorite thing I probably had done up until that point. But you know, that's the story with that. So Cody James, Jeffrey Epstein, good. If somebody killed him instead of killing himself, good. That guy was a pedophile, a piece of shit. And it reminds me of Nino Brown in New Jack City. You know, New Jack City could have just, Nino Brown could have just gone to jail for 20, 30 years, and that would have been the end of it. But you needed Ice-T and the other guy to fucking beat the shit out of him, and everybody in the neighborhood was like, yeah, fuck him up. I mean, that's how I felt about Jeffrey Epstein. If some people in the jail, fucked him up, good. Too bad they didn't cut his dick off. Then kill him. KGS, if the Freebirds, so much of my vulgar language cutting down. Actually, I didn't do too bad today. Bobby, the front porch story I'll tell another time. Yeah, I got to save some of my bullets over here. KGS is the Freebirds, WWF tenure, actually amounted to something. Do I see them eventually going in? Would I have seen them go into high-profile feuds with Hogan or maybe more mid-card like JYD, Tito, Wyndham Rotunda? Absolutely mid-card. There is no way at that time, being a WWF fan, that the Freebirds would have ever... Because you know why? I think of Murdoch and Adonis, which I loved the East-West connection in WWF. Or what was it, East-West, or was it East-South connection? I don't remember it wasn't East-West, because East-West was Jesse Ventura and Adrian Adonis, I think. Adonis and Murdoch, they were awesome. But you did not feel that either one of them were ever going to get high-profile feuds. Hogan was individual heavyweights, and that was it. So they would have been mid-card, but mid-card wasn't a bad thing in the middle 80s. There was some great feuds at that time. My favorite feud of all time is Snook and Morocco. And, that wasn't technically the main event, even though a lot of us viewed it that way. Johnny Z, I do have enough stories to write a book. When you're around this for that long, and like I said, the one thing is almost everybody that I tell stories about are live. So they can back up everything I say. The one thing you have to admit, and this is not trying to be cocky or anything like that, yeah, I talk smack about other people in the podcast and the website world. And I have revealed some things over the years that has been unpopular, let's be honest. But the one thing I hope you all noticed is no one has ever called me a liar. Never once. Never once has anybody ever said he's full of shit. He's a liar. Never once. Everything that I have said, even stories I've told, stories about the cannolis up Slash's nose the night Don Tony was born, all the other things, the XPW stuff, or, somebody thought when I was telling this stuff about Danny Doring, somebody went up to him thinking they were going to catch me in a lie. And he responded back. He was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Tell de Blasio I said hello. He didn't know me that well at all, but I had interviewed him for XPW, and at the time I talked to him a little bit, so that's why that all went down. But, yeah, no. We'll have story time segments. I will definitely do something in the near future where you all could just ask away, and I will answer. It'll be just strictly live chat. I'll be on video, and you'll be in chat, and we'll have a ball, man. Benjamin, no one ever challenges me because I'd rather just be honest. And I think people know that, I have a reputation. My reputation since 97 is I'm always going to be straight out with everybody out there. I think that's why I get a lot of hate, because I say a lot of things that other people wouldn't have the nerve to say. And sure, I sometimes let out some dirty laundry that shouldn't be let out, and I'm trying not to do that in the future. But I also realize that if I don't tell a specific side about something, then you're left with a version of a story that either makes me look like a horrible animal, jerk, monster, asshole, or I have to reveal the bitter truth so you understand, okay, now I understand why DT says this or does this or this. Thank God that we don't have to worry about stuff like that. It's just full steam ahead, having fun here. Like I said, I still got to iron out a lot of little things, little bugs in what I do, so things are smooth. No editing, no hiccups, no nothing. But, Bobby, I'll tell the story of the time when I was, John Gotti's club. I was an honorary member at 15 years old. And every time I see the segment in Goodfellas where the father beats the shit out of the young Ray Liotta because he finds out that his son hasn't been in school for months, that happened to me. Happened to me in 1985. If you want, when we do the next Q&A in 2 weeks, I will tell that story and a few others. And like I said, I got proof. I got pictures. I got so much stuff that I'm going to be putting here on YouTube. It's going to be amazing. I got like 20 plus years of stuff sitting on old hard drives that I never ever thought would ever really be utilized online. But we're on video now, and I am here full time. I am not an audio guy no more, even though I will always put audio versions of some of this stuff. But we're going to have a lot of fun. Bobbleheads will be up for sale in about a week or two, so I will give everybody the details there. Davy Jones, which wrestlers do I think could get in the Hall of Fame that are not currently in from ECW? He would love to see RVD and Sabu. RVD and Sabu, definitely. Tommy Dreamer definitely should be in the WWE Hall of Fame down the line. Taz should be in the Hall of Fame. I wish Shane Douglas would be put in the WWE Hall of Fame. I mean, granted, Dean Douglas sucked, but, Shane Douglas was a very important part of ECW. And, I'm going to wrap this up pretty much now, Alberts. I know you're not complaining, but it went a little longer. The stock thing was really rough, man. I wanted to really, and you know what? It would be really unfair for me to spend that much time on Monday explaining the stock like that. But again, I'm not going to bring it up Monday to try to make someone look stupid. But, you will see the perception of how someone else looks at it from reading stuff online. And when you absorb everything that I brought up tonight and those specific numbers, and then you hear what you hear Monday, then you understand why I rip these websites till no end. Because that crap creeps into the shows, and it's really, really hard to sift that out. It is really hard. I mean, you have no idea how difficult that is sometimes. Midnight Blue, did I answer your significant other question? I don't even remember what that was, but I probably... Oh, no, I didn't. I'm doing that now. I see it right here. Dog Stars, is the transition from audio to video easier or harder than I expected? And was I expecting this kind of response? It's much harder. I even wrote to JD from New York earlier that I really have a newfound respect for the amount of hard work he puts in. Dells is another one. I mean, this is not easy doing video, especially when you don't have anybody in the background doing production. Like I say, and it's not to be an asshole, but, I always say this. If I decide for the next 3 weeks not to do a show, not to do anything, just go offline for the full 24 hours, 7 days a week, you'd have no Monday show. None. You'd have no shows because, I have to do everything in the back, which is fine. I don't complain. I like the control. The reason why I say all this is because when you're going to video, and I'm used to just hitting a couple of record, codec, run this, edit this, splice this and that. That's one thing. When it comes to video and you got to make sure your camera is perfect, your settings are perfect, that this blends into this and this splices in and this video has the audio going. I mean, what happened Wednesday, I was going nuts over here. So video is 1,000 times harder. But I'm having a ball, man. I'm having a ball. This is fun. This smile that you see on the shows now, I mean, that's genuine. And, it's so awesome to be able to show me my mannerisms and my reactions. And again, it's also a confidence thing because I was not confident about going video before. But it's also, authenticity too. If you're going to have someone invest time to follow your shows, you have to put not just a face behind it, but, you have to be able to be comfortable. That's why the money thing is such a really sticky topic here because, again, I didn't go video to hurt anybody. But, people are now like, oh, how come there's no Kev Castle logo on the video thing? And that's because we have no current selfie pic. Oh, use one from 15 years ago. No. We evolve. We want to show everybody how we look in 2020. Well, that's not how I roll. Okay, well, that's why you got no graphic. So little things like that is very, very hard to have a balance with. And thank you, Richard. Appreciate it, Richard Slade. Shout out to you, my friend. People think that I'm a scumbag. And I swear I'm not just saying this to try to convince anybody. I am the complete opposite. Anybody that knows Shaheen, Nuclear Heat Graphics, ask him. Ask him. That guy despised me for years. Hated me probably more than anybody online. And Mish set up a call between me and him so he could do some graphics for the shows. He's the one that does all the artwork, by the way. And we were on the phone, and we talked a few times and hit it off. Just really, really cool. And after like a couple of weeks, he's like, dude, I have to tell you straight out. He says, it's just unreal. He says, this picture, this perception that I got of you for all of these years is the complete opposite of the person that I'm dealing with in person and talking to. And that is the quintessential example why I should have done this with video years ago. Because when you just see a still graphic and you hear my voice, and you don't see and you don't, get animated, and it's just, Benjamin, why did he despise me? Because I have the aura of being a very cruel asshole online that, just look, if I start bringing up examples, it's going to open up wounds and bring up dirty laundry that has no business being there. What's in the past is in the past. It's just full steam ahead. But again, you could do a show, but there's something different about seeing somebody, seeing their eyes, seeing them live, seeing them smile, seeing them react and putting in that work. And, you see a face, a live face behind it. And on the flip side of it, if you don't see that, people, which that's why social media is a disease, like Marinal said it. There are people online, and I bring this up for years and years and years. There are people online that because they have a very sweet, the way they write, they're very nice, they're interactive, they socialize with you, they mingle with you, or if they talk, pleasant sounding voice, laughing, chummy. And then if you take a step back and you realize, wow, the only thing I know about this person is what I'm hearing or what I see typed. But meanwhile, people just write things on social media. I see a lot of young girls doing this now. And how I see it is not because I follow them online, but some people that I follow on Facebook, they will like their posts. So it pops up on my wall. And I see lie, just trying to get attention to themselves. And it's a disease. It's a disease. I mean, you see some of the things that people claim, like every couple of months, they rescued somebody from a burning building. They helped, feed 100,000 homeless people or, and meanwhile, there's like no evidence whatsoever. Nobody else ever witnesses it. Nobody else ever, this happened and there's not, but when you get addicted to drugs, and I brought this up with my ex-girlfriend when I was very young. My ex-girlfriend, she liked to do cocaine. We were in a hotel once and I tried it 3 times in my life, and we did it all night long, had an awesome time, but there was a time to stop. She didn't want to stop. And I got into a big argument with her, and there was a little bit left on the dressing room table. A lot of you know the story already. And I got so pissed off at her because she was fiending so badly. I took, this is like a cheap hotel. I took the top of the desk and I just flung this powder on the floor. I was like, God, sniff the rug like a fucking dog. She literally, I swear on God, my mother, she went on her knees and was trying to find like some of the residue and sniffing the rug. A hotel, a cheap garbage hotel that you pay like $40 at the time for like 4 hours to get laid. And she's sniffing the rug. She was fiending that bad. She didn't care how ridiculous she looked, sanitizing, sniffing stuff. Who knows, from Hempstead, Long Island, people walking in that room with bare feet, with dirt and maybe animals and all this garbage, and she's just sniffing the rug trying to get cocaine. Same thing with social media. There are people out there that we may all mutually know, and they know that you know they're lying online. They know that you're catching them in these things. And the feeding for the attention is so much that they'll just do it anyway, and do it anyway, and do it anyway, and do it anyway. And that's why, even more of a reason why I needed this more intimate connection with all of you out there, because it just separates. Again, social media is disgusting. I mean, a lot of you mingle amongst yourselves, and it's cool, and I interact with a lot of you. You can follow me on Twitter at DonTonyD. But I'm more active now than I was a couple of months ago. In fact, I probably have tweeted more in the last month than I've done the last 2 years. But I usually keep it amongst us, and, because you just see what's going on online. And, Mauro Ranallo is an extreme case for it, but check out his interview. It'll blow you away of what he says about social media. You would think that he got trolled like crazy on social media. It's the opposite. He got nothing but love for the most part on social media. But the way he describes it, this social media like forces you in, and that need for acknowledgement and attention and likes. And you could see it. I made a joke, a little rhyme a couple of weeks ago. The more, I talk, the more some of the jealous people walk. You see, whenever I post really unbelievable, awesome announcements, you see people disappear for 12, 16 hours because they don't want to be forced to, I got to freaking like this, what this guy is saying. Once it dies down, then they'll just like it so they could show face and all that. But it's trash, man. And this is the truth. My personal Facebook page, I have posted on there. This is no joke. I swear on my mother. I have posted on my personal Facebook page probably 6 times in the last 2 or 3 years. Not a joke. Posted for my mom's birthday, my dad's birthday, my birthday. We got engaged, maybe one other thing, and maybe something medical. 5 or 6 times the last 3 years, my personal Facebook page. I have a second Facebook page as to do with the shows, but my personal Facebook page, 5 or 6 times in 3 years. I don't like social media because I see what it's doing to people, and it's a drug. It's a drug. So, but I love this, man. I appreciate everybody hanging around. I know we went longer. Midnight Blue asked me that I had mentioned before that I could never be married to a pro wrestler. What other jobs would make me not want to marry someone? Probably animal hospital. I just couldn't deal with hearing about these horrible stories every day of an animal being put to sleep or injured. I could never, ever deal with that. I wouldn't mind if my fiance was a police officer or an agent, I would have no problem. But with wrestling, though, never, ever, ever wanted to have a relationship with anybody involved in wrestling, because I just saw with my own eyes the crazy shit that goes on behind the scenes. And a lot of the wild stories that you have heard over the years with some more famous wrestlers, they're pretty much all true. And it gets very, very lonely on the road for a lot of these wrestlers, and things just happen. You have needs, you have wants. And, I saw firsthand. I don't like name dropping individual wrestlers, but I know a lot of you remember the story of one former ECW wrestler. I'm in a hotel room. I'm in this hotel room with a couple of girls, and this one wrestler that, I became friendly with, he calls up and he says, all right, I'll be up there in a few minutes. He walks into the room, goes in the bathroom. Well, actually, I take the step back. He goes into the room. One of the girls had to leave on an early flight. You wouldn't know who she is, but she had to leave for an early flight. She goes in the bathroom to take a shower. This wrestler just walks right into the bathroom, and he's in there for about 20 minutes while she's in the shower. I was so freaking impressed because I'm like, that's dapper. That's dapper. You would never believe in a million years who it was, but I saw just with my eyes. It felt awkward because here I'm in the other room with a whole bunch of other people, and we know that there's something going on in the other room, but it's just, they just, when you're on the road that much, me, when I used to indie stuff, I really was never, I never was in that grind. I was a nobody. But when you see these people who travel 200-300 days out of the year, you do have wants, and it's not enough to just FaceTime and stuff like that. I've seen so much crazy shit. I had the opportunity to sleep with a couple of people famous in wrestling. There's one person in particular I will never, ever tell a story because I just have too much respect for the person. But I remember somebody in a promotion had said to me, he said if I had any extra painkillers, because I had pain medicine at the time because of my car accident. And I was like, why? And he's like, dude, if you give so-and-so a couple of painkillers, you get laid right now. I was like, I don't want to do that. I was so self-conscious with my way I looked. Like I just, no, I just didn't do it. But you have to see some of the crazy shit that went on. I would never, ever marry anybody, date anybody, or even have any relations with anybody in wrestling. And I think that's why I became friendly with some people over the years, because there was never that aspect of it. It was just friendship. And let me also be perfectly clear. Not everybody in wrestling cheats on their significant others. There were some people who just sat in a corner with their iPod or their phone and would just listen to music and be very quiet, or they would talk to the significant other on the phone and they would do nothing. I don't want to give this aura that every single person cheats. That's not true. But there's no doubt, no question, that athletes, celebrities, sports athletes, musicians, they all, when they tour for that many days, you just get lonely. And you might be around people 12 hours a day, but you're still lonely. And, just seeing two people, like I brought this up once before. I don't think it was G.I. Ho. It might have been G.I. Ho, but I remember there was this one girl. I'll leave it with this, and then we'll get to cut it out for now. There was one girl who was trying to get a job for XPW. I don't remember who she was. She worked on the indie circuit on the Northeast. And I'm probably being really unfair right now by saying it was G.I. Ho, but I don't know why. I remember somebody laughing, saying, wow, she's dressed in all camo also. But I remember I was standing in front of Rob Black's hotel room waiting to get money because, of the money I laid out for tickets and stuff like that. And I remember, I think it was Slash had said to me, look, he's busy on the phone right now. Come back in like 20 minutes. I go back to my room. And I go back to his room again like 20 minutes later. And as I'm walking down the hallway, there's a door open. And I just looked inside the door as I'm walking by, and I see this woman who was on the indie circuit in the Northeast just laying on the bed like this. And she has virtually nothing on, but she had some camouflage on. I don't remember who I was with, but we were laughing as we walked by. I was like, she's fucking got the camo on. And somebody went into the room and she, they did the nasty. And she was trying to get a job at XPW. She didn't get a job. So it wasn't anybody, well known. I know it was an indie girl in the Northeast. But again, when you see stuff like that, it's like, yeah, me, I don't like drama. That's one thing I hope you all get from me going video. You'll realize that I don't need drama in my life. I don't need controversy in my life. I don't need to have to tweet paragraphs and essays to other podcasters about stupid little baby shit going on. It's like, let me do my thing. Let everybody else do their thing. Let's all have fun and leave it at that. I don't have time for drama in my life. I didn't have time for it then. I don't have time for it now. I just want to do the show have fun, smile. Hopefully everybody enjoys it. We go to bed. Then you got the next day coming. So I think that's pretty much it. Richard Slater, it's not Tammy Sitch. When I said about the painkillers, it's not Tammy Sitch. I know she is an easy name to pick out of that. I swear to you, it's not anybody that you would think it is. But I will tell you it's not Tammy Sitch. It's nobody that you would think it is. It's just the point that you had the opportunity to sleep with someone simply if you just gave them narcotics. And I wasn't interested in that. Was never interested. So, plus, like I said, I was very self-conscious. In fact, I'll show you a picture. I'll post it online this week. I found a picture from the Chiller Convention in the city, 2002. Took a couple of pictures with Francine and Daphne. And by the way, neither one, it's not Francine and Daphne either. In fact, I think Daphne was married to Ward. What's his name? Afazi? What's his first name? Not Marvin Ward. I'm drawing a blank right now, but I think she was married to him at the time. Because they did that music video. Remember the music video when they spoofed Soul Train? I think Daphne was in that music video too. It wasn't either one of them, but at the Chiller Convention, I took pictures with them. And you have to see me because I have my shirt open. There's this Brillo pad. I mean, if you think 70s porn and the amount of pubic hair you'd see on women from like 70s porn, triple that, and that's what my chest looks like. It looks like I had about 10 Brillo pads glued to my chest. I saw this photo, and I was so embarrassed with it, but I could laugh at myself now. So I'm going to put that online, and you, Alberts, you could say Dawn Marie. Rich Ward, yes. Daphne was married to Rich Ward at the time. Fozzie. She was awesome, too. Cool chick, always kept to herself. No controversies ever, really. Just that's why everybody's always said nothing but good things about Daphne. She was wonderful. Francine, too. Just a sweetheart. I mean, really, really nice person. So, but, and that's it for now. That's it for now. Don't play the guessing games about the girls because it's not anybody, of notoriety. But it's just the overall as far as why I just never wanted to be involved with that. It just, Anyway, I'm out of here, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the night. Now, I don't know if there's going to be a Q&A next Friday night after SmackDown. I got to see how the schedule is next week. Everybody enjoyed the Super Bowl. A lot of you are asking me my predictions for the Super Bowl. I don't follow the 49ers. I don't follow the Kansas City Chiefs. All I know is that I hope the Chiefs end with number 2 at the end of their score and the 49ers end with a number 1. So if any quarter ends and the Chiefs have a number 2 and the 49ers have a number 1, you know that yours truly made a couple of bucks. But I'm not even going to give a prediction because I don't follow either team. Maybe I'll do one over the weekend with Breakfast Soup. Maybe I'll look at the teams a little closer. But we'll see. We'll see. But I have to check with Mish tomorrow about Breakfast Soup. Don't know if we're going to be able to do it Saturday. I know he's still in Chicago. But if he's got his laptop, I don't see why we can't. Maybe we're forced to hold off until Monday or Tuesday. I don't know. But what's awesome about our Patreon family is that, they don't mind if we're a couple of days late once in a while. And I think Mish having the opportunity to actually mingle with Poppy, as you saw with that photo earlier, that might be worth waiting an extra day or two before we do that show. So we'll see what happens. I'll definitely keep everybody posted. But everybody enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And I will be back for everybody this Monday with the DTKC show. And then you got Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite. And then we'll see about next Friday. So this might end up being a regular thing. But one thing for certain is we got to tighten it up a little bit. But all right, I'm out of here, everyone. Be well, and I will catch you all again next week. Ciao.
Don-O-Mite.
It was fun to channel surf. It was kind of hard to do a little pocket pool after you hitting the last channel button 50 times for 2 hours plus.
Don-O-Mite.
And his whole idea of overanalyzing, he's an alcoholic and he misplaced the belt. And how could you have someone champion like that? The fuck out of here.
Wednesday night.
Don-O-Mite, you can have fun. You really are.